Good afternoon, one and all. Since more people are joining, we can wait for 5 more minutes. Yes.
Okay, in the meantime, we can start an activity so that can continue when we start the session. Jishnu, so we can start the intro so that they can also try this. Okay, 1 second,
Okay,
we will
sir.
share a link.
Sir,
Yeah.
1 minute, sir. We'll host it from our side.
Okay, no issues. Can I share a link? It's a
Yes, of course, of course.
all right. So good afternoon to all. Actually, you could able to see a Mentimeter link in the chat. It is asking for some basic information from you. So it's good to start knowing each other before others join. You can also, so early birds, you can, as early birds, you can post your entries first. It's a single question survey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our IIC Impact Lecture Series 2, funded by IIC MHRD. In this session, we have two speakers, Mr. Vijay N. Das and Mr. Jishnu Jyotish. Successful entrepreneurs leverage both design thinking and human-centered design principles in order to drive towards growth and achieve their long-term goals. In this session, our both speakers will drive us towards achieving our goals. Let's have a minute of silent prayer. Now, I welcome Mr. Tom Anto for welcome address.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Respected Dean of FISAT, Dr. Mini here, my dear colleagues, respected Regin sir, respected Jishnu, and dear students, a warm good afternoon to one and all. Innovation and entrepreneurship are the two keywords we hear a lot nowadays. So being innovative is an important tool to survive in this world. Whether we are living a normal life or in a corporate life, being innovative is an important thing. So with this context, we are Institution Innovation Council of FISAT is conducting a workshop on design thinking and critical thinking. And today we have got two eminent personalities who are well versed in this area, Mr. Regin Das and Mr. Jishnu. Is an experienced trainer in this area. So I take, being a IAC coordinator, I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Regin Das and Jishnu to our workshop. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Jishnu.
Thank you, Tom, sir. Good afternoon to all.
Thank you very much.
And I also welcome our dean, our faculties, I mean my colleagues and dear students also to this workshop. And I urge all to use this opportunity to develop a design thinking mindset and a critical thinking mindset in your life. I wish you all the success and thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the introduction.
Now, I call upon Mr. Vijay N. Das, the Head of Knowledge Office at IIC Academy of Kerala, to take up the session on design thinking mindset for innovation. Welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. So once again, good afternoon to all. So we had actually made this session just like an interactive session. Just like the Storms are mentioned, we are not claiming that we are experts. We actually wanted to share something. So this is going to be a knowledge sharing session. As we will all share some of our knowledge to you, and also we expect something shared back to us as well. So every design thinking session is always going to be a knowledge session, not one way. It's going to be a two-way interaction. I could able to see around 98 people connected to this call, and hope that maybe you are streaming it through other channels as well. So anyway, which all media that you are connected through to this platform. So we expect some kind of interaction if it is possible. Already we started off asking you a question, so let me come to that specifically. This is one question that you find it in the link. If you haven't received this link and you joined late, I'm sharing this link again. Okay, so thank you, Jishnu. So Jishnu shared it again. It's a small activity, like we actually wanted to know about you, your name, the course. We already know that some of you are in engineering and some of you are from your management stream. Please mention the stream of your studies as well. Of course, we are connected through a virtual platform. Nice to know your location, your hometown. And last one is a slightly different question. Something that made you to say, wow. So it can be anything. We already started getting responses like virtual reality, and a very interesting answer that we got from Chiriya Das. Your name itself is unique, Chiriya. A bird feeding the little one is always a nice, memorable scene. All right. So, are you able to see this screen? Anyone? Okay. So let me stop and start sharing again, so that you also get to see the responses. So, if you haven't responded yet, please keep your response. Okay, keep posting your responses. So, are you able to see the screen, Jishnu, or anyone on the Mentimeter screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's go through this. This is the first phase of our interaction. Like, we start with something like that meet and greet, and just know each other. Aravind from BTech background, he said that automation is something that actually motivates him, or said, wow, okay, good. Then we have another, Christy says virtual reality that attracted. Then Christina, most of you, maybe you attended a virtual reality workshop recently. Then some of you skipped that question, no issues. So actually we got 17 responses so far, but we need more responses. We have more people in this. It's afternoon time. We know that it is a post-lunch session. Most of the post-lunch session we used to sleep, especially when we were studying. So we actually won't let you do the same. So any more responses? So if you have your response, I can also read it out. Okay, getting more responses. Let me zoom in. All right. New dish, okay, maybe Rajalashmi. So you can also try cooking. When made a new dish and it was really tasty, so you can try it in the other way. You can make some dishes from your end and give it back. So challenging you to do something in that. All right. So anyway, we will have a relook at some of your responses at a later time. So, Jishnu, can you confirm whether I am in the right slide?
Yes, sir. You're presenting the second one, the third one now.
So let me ask you something like, so now you said maybe we get some responses, like you said that something that made you to say wow, whether it is the food that your mom made, or the scene of a bird feeding its little one, or the technology things like the virtual reality or automation or whatever it may be. So from one side you looked into some of the interesting things, especially something that made you to say wow. So now can we think of being in the other side? Other side means you are going to be the creator, maybe the designer, the creator, or whatever other people looking at your designs or your creation and say wow. So it's the right time to do that. So most of you are in the graduation phase. If you are in the engineering stream, you are into your engineering stream. So a very beautiful phase of your life. Some of you are doing PG after maybe your graduation. So some of the MBA graduates are also here. Whether PG or UG, you are in the learning phase. Now it's a good time to think about creating something to someone and make them say wow. So if you are in that side of you are doing something and making somebody else making them happy or making them wonder about something, that is actually the beginning of a new phase in your life. So hope that maybe after a year or 2 years, maybe 3 years down the line, all of you will be in that position. So our interaction with you in the next 3 hours, what we will be doing is we will be giving you some tips or maybe some examples or sharing some incidents that actually that changes your perspective. So right now you may be in a position to appreciate, understand, observe things, but slightly or slowly you will be changing from one perspective to other perspective. So you will be thinking from the other perspective, from the people perspective, from the user's perspective, or a client's perspective, or a customer's perspective, and started designing something, so that in the future generation or the people will be looking at your creation and say, wow. So are you ready to be in that line? So you wanted to change the position from the position you are currently into a position to do something for others. So how many of you are ready to do that? Can I have a hand raise, a virtual hand raise from your end? All right, so let me switch and see how many hand raises I am getting. Yeah. Hey, Jishnu, do you have any mechanism to count the hands? Roughly, engineers for approximation.
Q, I don't think it would have been. Yeah, I think I can see that there are 14, 15 hands up now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I take these as references or samples from your team. So you are raising your hands on behalf of others. All right. Okay, let me switch the slides again. So you might heard about this particular term. I know that I had a discussion with Tom sir in the morning, and he said that some of you already studied design thinking. Design engineering is one subject as part of your engineering curriculum. So MBA student, maybe some of you might be hearing this design engineering for the first time. So whether you know it or you understand it or you are hearing it for the first time, doesn't matter. So we will be talking about this particular term and how you should take it, how you should take it forward. That is going to be the context of our discussion. So what actually is design thinking? That's what we are going to speak. Another question. So can you identify this? Anyone? What is this? Any? Okay, I heard a voice like CT scan.
It is an MRI.
MRI scan.
MRI scanning machine, right? You are referring to a scanning machine. Okay. So let me just Google it. I am not saying whether your answer is right or not. So I am googling for an MRI scanning machine. Okay. So what's the Google pictures show? So let me look at the Google pictures or images. Okay, I can't find the kind of image that I am showing it here, right? So this is something that I am showing. So your answer, I'm googling for some pictures. I'm not finding any of these. So anyway, your answer is very close to what I'm looking for. So can you make the answer more specific?
It's an MRI
so that
for kids.
Yeah, so I'm going to refine my Google search MRI scanning machine for kids. Okay, so now let me search. Okay, so I'm finding it. So now you tell me what is the difference. So what is the difference between a normal scanning machine and the scanning machine I have just shown you?
I think it's designed for kids so that they don't get scared.
Okay, so you think you all right, so you don't have to think, but it's an actual thing. So it's actually a scanning machine, or especially an MRI scanning machine designed for kids. Can you identify the manufacturer of this machine? Anyone? You can also Google, no worries. So you just Google and say me the answer. It's finding out the answer is more important. It's not a university exam or anything like that. Okay. Which company produced this scanning machine, especially for kids, for the first time? Maybe some other company emulated the same thing. So who made it first? Anyone?
Philips.
So, which one?
Philips.
Philips. Okay. So let me wait for another answer, a different one, if possible. So anyway, it's a scanning machine designed for kids. Actually, what's the problem with the normal scanning machines, that the other one that we have seen, the white ones? Here also we can see that kids are being scanned using the other traditional, classical, or whatever term that you can see, scanning machines. So what is so unique about this particular scanning machine? So there's an interesting story behind.
Colorful.
Yeah, it's colorful. Okay.
Cartonic.
Cartonic. Okay, good. What makes a difference? A plain atmosphere, or something like a fantasy park kind of an atmosphere? There's an interesting story behind that. When you read back or Google and read the story behind this kind of a scanning machine, this machine was actually produced for the first time by GE, General Electricals. You all know about GE. And they were also manufacturing a scanning machine, the usual ones with one color, the plain color. And their machines was one of the best machines in the market. So the company was so happy with their performance. Every year they have a certain unit manufactured, sold, and they get good reviews from all the stakeholders, starting from doctors to hospitals to technicians, even from patients. So good companies, actually, when you look at good companies, they always hear the voice of customers. Most of the time, you purchase item, especially from Amazon kind of platforms, you get a feedback form, right? And whether and even when somebody delivers a food at your doorstep, a Zomato guy or a Swiggy guy, and they will also ask you to share the feedback, right? Because most of the time, a company or even an individual wanted to improve the performance, they always like to get the views from the customers. And here also, GE had a structured word to listen to the voice of the customers. And every time they get feedback from the different stakeholders, most of the time the hospitals, the hospital administration, the staff, doctors. And once they got a very interesting feedback. And they said that actually MRI scanning is a very difficult process. And if any of you have undergone that process, you might be knowing that how difficult the situation was. Okay, so let me stop for a moment. If any of you have undergone a scanning process at some stage of your life, wanted to share the experience here? How terrible, how good, how difficult was that situation? I know I'm not sure any of you have gone through such a situation. So believe that you won't be in a situation in future as well. All right, so it's a difficult process, and even it is very difficult for an adult. So think what will happen if a small child at the age of 5 or 7 has to undergo the scanning process. It's very difficult for the technicians or the doctors to make the child lie on top of this bed. So that is actually the biggest challenge as far as they are concerned. So this actually was a feedback this GE company received once they collected or listened to the voice of the customer. So they thrown this as a challenge to their engineers. So most of you here are engineers. So they got a challenge. The engineers got a challenge. This is one of the problems. Our machines are perfectly fine. It produces good results. It is rated as one of the best machines in the market. And when we manufacture the next unit, can we do something better than what we are doing currently? Then this was a problem statement given to them. So this was a challenge. The engineers happily accepted the challenge. They sit together, brainstormed, and came with a solution. So this was their solution for the kids. Even though they were manufacturing units, they started manufacturing exclusive unit for kids. Only difference is that, like some of you mentioned, they made the environment looking differently. They may be painted it differently. They may be adding some, or maybe some stickers were fixed on top of it. What did what change it did was, when a particular kid enter into a scanning room, when he or she sees this kind of an environment, they never felt that they are going to do some medical process. First of all, the staff, let me take you to some of the other images. So this is one image, this is another image. You can also see some of the themes. So here you can see a pirate kind of a theme, and where you can see different themes. So the atmosphere, actually, they made it into a totally different theme, so that the kid never feel that they are inside a scanning room. And also the process of lying on top of the bed was actually part of a game. So inside, even the doctors and the technicians were dressed like characters. You could also find it out in some of the images. You can also see that they were also dressed like some of the characters. And they were playing in between. They were playing, and in between, as one of the tasks, that kid is lying on top of this bed. And then the scanning is done. Ultimately, what the technicians and even the machine needs is some data from the patient's body. So that actually they collected, and that is how they improved the performance. Like they were doing something with the help of this machine. So they provide better satisfaction, not only to the patients but to their parents, especially here the patients are kids, and then the other stakeholders like the doctors, technicians, and even the parents. So this actually was a wonderful exercise did by one of the companies. So I told you in the beginning that we will be telling you some stories and some of the incidents or some of the things that most of you are aware of. So we are looking from a different thing. So these kind of things that we see around. So now the question is, I already told you that this was actually a problem statement given to the engineers of that particular company. So they took the challenge, they accepted the challenge, they tried to solve the problem, and eventually they solved the problem with a better result. So finally, they have the same product but a different outlook, but it serves a purpose. So that actually is a result of a different way of thinking. So we can call it as an innovation. If you see a problem, you look for out-of-the-box solutions, and you look in a different way than the others generally look at. So that is what the engineers did. So now the question back to you. You are engineers or people with engineering mindset. So engineers and engineering mindset are different. So that's something that I hope that all of you would agree. Anyone can have an engineering mindset. An engineering mindset is different from engineering. If you pass an engineering course, you get an engineering certificate. That never ensures that you have an engineering mindset. Normally, an engineering mindset is something like I cannot say a specific definition for that. But if you think before doing something, which actually that shows that you have an engineering mindset. So if you with an engineering mindset, you never rush for solutions. If you see a problem, you sit back, think. Not only think in one direction, you think in different directions, look at all the possibilities, and then have a deeper look at some of the possibilities, try out and fail in some of your attempts, and finally you come up with one solution, and that you feel that that's a better solution compared to the other solution. So if you have this mindset, like if you have a problem, first of all, accept the problem, and then look for unique solutions and solve it as a trial, and then you come up with a concrete solution. So if you have this process inside your problem solving, then definitely you can certify yourself as a person with engineering mindset. Otherwise, you may be having an engineering degree, but you don't have an engineering mindset. So in that sense, even though you are from an MBA background, you don't have an engineering degree. If you have this process within you, you have a person with an engineering mindset. All right. So with this, I'm asking or throwing you a challenge back. Are you ready to take up such things? So that right now we see some products manufactured or designed, manufactured by some good engineers with engineering mindset. Maybe after some time, after 2-3 years, even people like us will be looking at some of these kind of products or solutions created by you. So are you ready to take up the challenge? Afternoon session. We want some response. If you are ready, can we get some response? Y or yes in the chat? So that actually is a motivation for us to go forward. Just know anything to add at this point?
Nothing much, sir. I think I'll leave the stage up to you entirely.
All right. All right. So now we can go to the next phase. We have seen what is design thinking. So design thinking is a process. You cannot say that this is design thinking. So I told you about the engineering mindset. If you see a problem, you approach in different ways and finally come up with a solution. So it is a human-centered side of a creative problem solving. So that creative word is very, very important here. All right. So now at this point, we can say that design thinking is a way of solving problem. We have seen how the GE engineers solved that problem. They solved it, but in a different way. So you can also see some creativity in that, like changing the atmosphere, making the people comfortable. So that is how they made the problem. So they solved the problem in a creative way. So now, and the next question is, what actually make that human-centered? So how you can solve a problem in a human-centered way? So that actually we will be discussing in the upcoming slides. All right. So now everything converges into these 5 blocks. You could see in design thinking, we have different phases. The first and the most important phase is empathize. So when you look for solution, we can even start from the second stage. If you take empathize as the first stage, define as the second phase or the second stage, ideate as the third, prototyping as the fourth, and testing as the fifth one, you can have a solution for a problem without having the first step called empathize. So if you solve a problem without empathizing, then we never call it as a design thinking solution. So if you wanted to have a problem solved in a human-centered way, first of all, you should be in the shoes of the other person. You think from the other's perspective, solve the problem, then definitely that problem will be solved in a design thinking perspective. So that is one of the important thing that you should be looking at. So maybe in the next few examples, we will be discussing about how can you empathize. That's a very, very important question that you should ask to yourself. So I will be telling you some incidents. So before that, I think it's good to hear something from someone. So let me stop sharing, and so that I want you to listen to the voice as well. It's a 2 minutes video. So let's listen to this. Okay, are you able to hear the sound? I'm just confirming.
My customer expectation is safety and respect, so I wanted to give them something.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Okay. Now I'm opening the video.
So unexpected satisfaction I want to provide my customers.
This is Annadurai, the amazing auto guy, whose auto rides have been talked and discussed all over the world and described as perfectly awesome. Chennai's most loved and in-demand auto driver, Annadurai.
I'm also high school dropout. A lot of customers also saying, Anna, which standard you study? You are from engineering, you are from MBA, something also. Suddenly say, because auto inside customer looking something different, customer satisfaction. That customer also daily 100 customer I provide the service, 90% customer also say, Anna, you are from engineer, you are from MBA, something. You know, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Albert Einstein, Sir Thomas Alva Edison. A lot of people drop out. Me also same. I'm also saying this content because I'm everything except my studies. So I didn't willingly choose this job, but I tried to currently available job with willingness. பிடிச்ச இந்த ஜாபுக்கு வரல, கிடைச்ச வேலையை பிடிச்ச மாதிரி செய்யறதுக்கு ட்ரை பண்ணிட்டு.
It isn't just Anna's auto that sets him apart, but what he symbolizes through the service he offers. Annadurai drives a share auto that can carry 5 to 6 people on Old Mahabalipuram Road, where most of the IT companies are located.
Magazine, newspaper, Wi-Fi, swiping machine, laptop, tablet, iPad Pro, and Google Home, Alexa, fridge, contest, token, and TV. That customer booking onto our hometown, Texas and Moscow and Kazakhstan and lot of London. Our hometown to booking, Anna, this day I am visiting onto the Chennai. Can you please book my auto? Is 5 days, 2 days, 10 days, something. So that is one of the, we are proud.
Sorry, let me. Sorry, I actually played it again. I think we are nearing the end, but let me conclude and tell you the rest of the things. Like, have you seen this video before? Anyone? So first of all, wanted to hear from you. Anybody seen this video before? The story of Annadurai. Yes, Akshay said he watched it before. All right. So the most interesting thing that he was referring at in his presentation was like he actually when he stepped into this profession, there were any number of people who were riding auto rickshaw in that Mahabalipuram. It's in Chennai. But actually, he wanted to make some difference in his approach. He knows that there are any number of people are doing this stuff. Actually, he wanted to do it in a unique way. So that actually that prompted him to look for a different approach. And then what he did was, So what he did was he think from the customer's perspective. So just like we mentioned, he empathized. So what uniqueness I can able to provide to my customers? Then one of the biggest challenge that we face in our places is the problem of. So let me hear from you. What are the problems that you face while traveling in auto rickshaw in our place? Any of you? So just share the problems that you face while traveling in auto rickshaws. So these are the input Annadurai collected initially. Okay, he asked the same question to all the people. So can you share some of the problems that you faced while traveling in auto rickshaws? Anyone? Waiting to see your response, or even you can unmute and speak. Customer problems. Net connectivity. All right, so to 10. Okay, Alina says that there is no net connectivity in auto rickshaws. All right. Okay. Annadurai actually solved that problem, and he knows that people who are traveling they get entertained if we could able to provide a Wi-Fi connectivity. So he provided Wi-Fi connectivity. Condition of the road. All right. So auto rickshaw, so that we cannot blame the auto rickshaw drivers. It's a totally different problem. Then seat belt or doors. Okay, that is Gayatri, you are concerned about the safety, especially there are auto rickshaws being used for transporting kids to schools. So their belt, more than belt, the door is also important. Okay. Then what else? Okay, reclining seats. That is Amal says. But I think one of the challenges that I face is always the balance. If it is 25 rupees, most of the times we don't have a 5 rupee coin. So that actually is one of, maybe it's people I have seen many people having problems with auto rickshaw driver on the change issue. That's another issue. Okay, then what other issues that you experienced or you can able to mention as far as this particular sector is concerned, auto rickshaw kind of jobs? Okay, Gayatri says traveling through congested roads, safety. All right, so definitely common fare. All right, so that's another issue, common fare. Okay, so what Annadurai did was he tried to identify all these problems. Then, and when he started his auto rickshaw, he had solutions for all these. He made his auto with a Wi-Fi connectivity. He ensured Wi-Fi connectivity. He used swiping machines for collecting the fare. Then you have seen in that particular video that he had the different newspapers, kept it on top of the auto rickshaw. Then there is facility to read books. So everything was inside. So he provided a better solution. So whoever comes to his auto rickshaw will have a better ride than anybody else. So that is how, even though it's a very, very common problem, no people would think for such a solution, because if they start riding, they simply follow what others are doing. But Annadurai was not in a position to follow what others are doing. He actually wanted to do it in his own way. So that actually made him very popular. And he, when you could, when you search for his videos, you could see videos of him speaking in a TED series. He's a TED talk speaker as well. Okay, coming back to the slides. So let me move to the next slide. So what is actually important in the design thinking is the empathy. So most important, you should think from others' perspective. In the first example, we have seen how GE engineers actually able to think from the patient's perspective. Now in the Annadurai's example, how Annadurai could think from the customer's perspective and try to incorporate items that can solve their problems. So now I'm not touching the other blocks currently. So let's discuss on the empathy part, and then understand that design thinking has got different phases. We start off with the empathy and the most important phase. Then it has got different other phases. Like once you empathize, if you wanted to solve a problem, first of all, you should empathize. And secondly, you should have a clear idea about what I am going to solve. So in the design example of GE scanning machine, they have a clear-cut plan. So we are going to design a scanning machine for the kids. That is their problem statement. So they heard a lot of problems about their machines. They heard about stories from different users. But finally, they decided that we are going to address one problem. We are going to design a new machine for the kids. So that actually is a very, very important thing as far as we are concerned. If you're going to solve a problem, first of all, we have many problems in front of you. Take the example of a pen. All of you are using pen for the last 15 or 17 or 18 years. When you look at your pen, and if you ask yourself, what are the problems of your pen? So currently think that you are using a pen and you look for 1, 2, 3 or 4 problems of your current pen, you can able to tell. So now I am posting this question to you. All of you are using one pen currently. Can you tell 3 problems, at least one problem of your pen, your current pen? So that is the next exercise. So I'm waiting to see your responses. Pen is a common example. Can you tell some of the problems of your current pen? Expecting more responses because it's a very, very common question. Leakage, Ananya. Okay, I hope that it start leaking after 70% or even 80 after 80%. Opaque, so can see the refill. Is it a drawback or a positive thing, Rajlashmi? I can see it. Oh, sorry, I can't see the refill. Okay, sorry. So it's not so transparent. All right. So you wanted to make it transparent. Okay. Lack of grip. Chiria says, all right. Most of the pen are having that issue. Not smooth in writing. Okay, Rajeshmi, I got it. It's an ink is not dark enough. Okay, so you are using a light pen. Hope that you are not using a pencil, Rose. Amal Fatty. I hope that you got this pen as a gift. Amal, am I right? So you purchased it or you got it as a gift? Yeah. I'm not going to ask who gifted it. Okay. Diary says how to change pen occasionally. Okay, you wanted to get something like an Akshaya Patra so that every time so it automatically refills. The area is, you can take it as a problem statement and solve it so that one time your company will be in profit. So you can sell it. So cap is always missing. It's not the pen's problem, it's your friend's problem. Amal, so not attractive. Again, Abarna, is it a gifted pen or somebody gifted you or you purchased it? Sandra, need a pen which can improve my hand. Hey, Jishnu, so you have got very wonderful people for the second segment.
Yes, I was noticing that.
Need a pen which can improve my handwriting. Sandra has simply loved it. Maybe one day we can have such innovations come. So you are so innovative. I don't have to, or we don't have to talk about innovation to you guys. Can't remove the refill and replace it. So it is polluting the environment. Rajalashmi, going more philosophical. All right. Okay, anyway, so now we were Keralites. Tani Malayalis are Kore Kuttangala Paranje. Can we tell some positives as well? So now it's time to switch to the positive side. So can you tell one positive about your pen? Ananya, very sharp, lightweight, very smooth. I നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ സ്മൂത്ത് അല്ലാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ആളല്ല ഇത് പറഞ്ഞേക്കുന്നത് ആക്ച്വലി ഓൾറൈറ്റ് ഗുഡ് ഇങ്ക് ഫെയർ പ്രൈസ് ഗുഡ് 5 രൂപയ്ക്ക് കിട്ടിയിട്ട് 2 രൂപയ്ക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നുണ്ടാവും ഇറ്റ്സ് സ്മൂത്ത് ഡാർക്ക് ലൈറ്റ് വെയിറ്റ് ഓക്കെ ബട്ട് ഓൺലി തിങ് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് it's not transparent, Rajalashmi. Okay, pointed, helpful in a need. Okay. Always help me to always help me. So you have the tradition to keep or a habit to keep the same pen for all the examination, Avarna? I remember one of my colleagues, one of my friends during my engineering days. When he was my captain in my cricket team, so he had a superstitions like if he changes his shirt, the team will lose. So unfortunately or fortunately, we started from the league matches. We had 3 league matches, and then we qualified for the pre-quarters. We won the pre-quarter final. Then we played the quarter-final match, and we qualified for the semi-finals. So this my friend of mine so superstitious of changing shirts and use the same shirt for all the dress without washing. So at the fourth the semi-final match, when he went for tossing, the other person was in pure white, just like the advertisement of Ujala, and our captain was literally, he was actually wearing a brown shirt. So maybe some kind of superstitious. So I don't think that Abarna you will be using the same pen throughout your school days and carrying it to your engineering or your current lucky pen. Okay, good. Always nice to have lucky pen. Okay, thank you for all this input. The reason why I asked this question is that I have taken pen as only a reference. You take anything. It can be a tooth brush, it can be a chair, it can be any device that you use, it can be a mobile phone. When you look at a current product, you can see any number of problems. So pen was there for centuries. So it was there in the times of our grandparents, great-grandparents, but still the pen that we manufacture has got a lot of problems, which means that there are enough opportunity for you to innovate. You can create a pen. So I am happy to have a pen created by Chiria that actually solves the problem that she mentioned. So you all mentioned about some of the problems of the pen that you currently use. So take that as a problem or a challenge. Can you come up with a pen that solves at least the problem that you mentioned? So others who kept quiet in the interaction process can take some of these problems mentioned by your peers and try to solve that problem. So if you try to solve that problem, we are actually becoming innovative. So you are actually become innovators. You are trying to solve problem. You are coming with innovative solutions. So there is no place you want to go and study innovation. There is no book you want to read to understand what is innovation. There is no course you need to enroll to understand about innovation. Observe, think, take some time, think, you get enough opportunity to innovate. So let's come and discuss about some other aspects. Like, so let me switch back to the slide. So we covered the initial part. Empathize is just looking from others' perspective, understanding their problem and take it as your problem and take it as a problem for you to solve. So that actually is the first stage. So now let me pose you another question back to you. Are you able to see this, Jishnu? Can you confirm whether this image is visible or not? I'm switching between windows. That's the reason why I am checking. Anyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
So can anyone tell what this particular image is? And if you can tell the story behind this, it's all...
Just to clarify, Reggie sir, is it the slide with 3 question marks on top?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect.
Question mark is only a symbol. So I actually wanted you to make that question mark as an exclamation mark or something written there. So even though you don't understand or recognize the image, think that you see this as an image somewhere. What you interpret from this image? That is the most important question. So think that you are seeing something. So I tell the context. This actually is a name advertisement board. It's not featured in any places in India or Kerala or any other places. It actually is a name board featured in the Silicon Valley in California in 2004, if I remember correctly. So this actually was an advertisement board in the highways, the roadside of Silicon Valley. So now you have enough clues. First 10-digit prime found in a consecutive digit of E. Those who completed engineering might be knowing what is E is. All right, even though you don't go to that part first, so what would be the solution for this? Think that this is a problem or a problem statement. What will be the solution for this? Or what might be one of the possible answers to this? Anyone? Don't worry, your answer is right or not. You can just have a try. Chumma thatti nokku endengilum enough clues. You have enough clues. അതിനകത്ത് ഉള്ളത് വെച്ചിട്ടൊന്ന് നോക്കിയിട്ടൊന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു നോക്ക് എന്തായിരിക്കും ഇതിന്റെ ആൻസർ എന്ന്. I don't want you to rush to the solution. Apply your engineering mindset. Observe ചെയ്യുക. ഒരുപാട് ഒബ്സർവ് ചെയ്ത് ഉറങ്ങിപ്പോകരുത്. ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് നോക്കി കുറച്ചൊന്ന് നോക്കിയിട്ട് ഒരു ആൻസറിലേക്ക് എത്തിയാൽ കൊള്ളായിരിക്കും. Anyone?
You have an answer in the chat, Reggie sir.
I am in full screen mode. Can you read that?
So Ijaz says it's google.com.
Okay, you actually are in the right track, Ijaz. It actually refers to a website. So anything followed with a .com normally refer to a website. So
we have another answer. Abdullah says it's 7427466391. And I think there would be a .com after that.
Okay, this is what Abdullah was referring, right? All right. So actually, let me first tell the story and come to the answer. The answer is irrelevant at this point of time, but the story is more interesting. So this was actually a job interview question posted by Google in 2004. So Google is a company known for its creativity. They always try to be innovative. They want all their employees to be innovative. So when they at one point of time, they wanted some newly recruited people. So instead of posting the job opportunity directly, what they did was they kept a name board like this. Is an advertisement board, not a name board. They kept an advertisement board like this in the Silicon Valley Highway. So many people saw this advertisement. Just like most of us, they have a look at this and then they drove away. But some people, maybe they took a photograph so that they can watch it later. So finally, some people took it as a puzzle, tried to solve it. And just like he just said, the .com gave them some clue that this is going to be a website. So they tried to solve the second part. So if you wanted to have something.com and if you type it on a browser, it will be connecting to a website. That is what the initial clue most of the people got from this. And then the second, so when you go deep, you have other statements like first 10-digit prime. So prime, you all know what is a prime number. So the first 10-digit prime is another clue that is found in the consecutive digits of E. So E is actually a constant. So you know that 2.7. So this number, I couldn't able to show you you can Google it. We normally study it as the value of E is 2.718. So if you go for the next 100 digit after the decimal point, you get something like this. So inside that decimal point, you have to look for the 10-digit block that actually becomes the first prime number. So the first prime number in that block, the block of 10 digit is 7427466391. So those people who solved that or cracked that and visited this website actually were lucky to get an interview call from Google. So that website actually was giving them an invitation to go to their Silicon Valley office to attend the interview. So the first written test was kept it like this. So you can call it as a very creative way, because whoever cracked this actually automatically are creative. So they wanted them some creative people. So the reason why I kept it over here is, if you wanted to empathize, so if you wanted to try problems, and if you wanted to try problems in a different way, creativity is actually a good component or a good companion. So if you are creative, then if you try to solve problem, definitely whatever you solve it creatively. So take simple examples. If I ask Tom sir about assignment submissions, I also worked in our class assistant professor in a college for some time. So normally as teachers, if we give assignments, we get responses. If there are 60 students in a class, we get 60 responses. But when you look at all the 60 responses, most of the times, 99% of submissions are looking alike. If you are lucky, you get same submissions of different copies, right? But the most important thing is that sometimes we get at least one unique submission or one creative submission, even in an assignment. So if you do in engineering, you study 50 to 60 subjects altogether, and you submit any number of assignments. I'm not going to count that. And if you have a habit of solving, take it as all these assignments or case studies or projects as opportunity to solve problems. If you have the habit of solving it in a unique way, then definitely there is a chance for you to apply your creativity. There are people who solve. So the person who is going to talk after this, Jishnu, who worked in my team for almost 1.5 years. So whenever I have given him some challenges, he always came up with that creativity component. So that is something that I can tell you. So that is something that you will experience in the second half of the presentation as well. So the thing is that if you are creative, whatever problem you solve will have that creativity. Recently, yesterday, we lost a very beautiful actor from our Malayalam film industry. So he acted in some of the films directed by Bharathan. Bharathan's cinema, there is a Bharathan touch in all Bharathan movies. So Bharathan as a director has got some uniqueness. So therefore, if you have that habit of applying creativity into whatever you do, definitely that creativity will be there in all the type of problems, whether it is a small problem as part of maybe a personal problem, academic problem. Sometimes you will be solving some political problems or problems, international problems. So whatever kind of job that you will be taking, so you will be definitely solving problems. And if you have the habit of solving problem with the creativity inside that, definitely you will be noticed, you will be recognized, you will be unique in whatever things that you do. So can you identify this image? Another follow-up questions. Anyone? So it's not from California or from Silicon Valley. So you can relate it very much to something that happened locally a few years back.
The flood, sir, that happened in Kerala.
It's a flood image. I think this image was taken in 2018, the 2018 August flood. So the reason why I kept it along with the website link. So this is a very, very interesting story, especially you are from an engineering background. When during the first flood, especially in the 2018 flood, because at that time, Kerala was not prepared to do any kind of support or any kind of disaster management for flood, because we were new to flood. In Kerala, we never had the habit of having floods coming periodically. So now we are, when it hit in 2019, actually we were prepared. We know that second time, August, there might be a chance. So we had previous years experience with us. But 18 was a disastrous event. So at that time, one interesting thing happened. Sometimes along with some disasters, some good things also happen. So one good thing that happened in 2018 flood is, I think the Kerala community accepted the new generation people like you. Am I right? How many of you, maybe some of you were volunteers in that flood relief activities also? Right. So as far as I know, or I understand, I read, that was a time, especially the techies, our techie pillar would contribute to the flood. So actually, next I am going to show you a very interesting or a very innovative product or service, that whatever you call, created by a bunch of people. So this is something what one of the coordinators of that team said after they created this. So when the flood hit, there were people stuck in different places. They don't know how to communicate it. Some people use SMS to communicate because there were no data connectivity. They use SOS facility. Some used WhatsApp messages. Like different means, they started communicating with the district administration or the state administration, saying that we stuck there, or we were in a place for the last 24 hours. Nobody is here. Please rescue from our place. And if they are in a relief camp, the demand or the requirement of different relief camps are different. So think about a place with old people. They need medicine kind of items more than other items. There are places where a lot of children, they need baby food than any other item. So likewise, when you look at the different relief camps, the requirements were different. And especially in social media, a lot of wrong messages were happening or spreading at that time. So they wanted to stop that as well. They wanted to convey the proper guidance or proper information to be fed to all the different people, especially from the state headquarters. So these are the different requirement or the problem statement in front of some of these techie people. So you can read it from the statement. They sit together, had a discussion, brainstorming. They look for the empathize with the people, the situation. They look for solutions. When you look at the different phases of design thinking, they started empathizing. They started identifying the actual problem. They defined the problem. They look for different solutions. They made quick prototype, check whether this works. Sometimes it failed. They reworked on it, tested it, failed, then debugged it. then finally they have a solution. The solution is nothing but this one. So I hope that most of you shared this link through your WhatsApp or SMS. This was actually the result of the first flood. A bunch of techies with the support of the other techies working in different parts of the globe, they actually formed, it was a very wonderful example of a crowdsourcing product. They created this rescue.in portal with the support of others working in different parts of the world, especially the Malayalis. And how this particular portal helped the community was, ഇതിനകത്ത് message send ചെയ്യാനുള്ള option ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. They have a announcement option through which only the verified messages were sent. They send information about hospitals and the availability of beds in different places, different hospitals. Most importantly, they have a facility to collect funds from different people so that it may be transferred to the CM relief fund. So it actually is a combination of different functionality. So when you look at the design thinking and the different stages of design thinking, so let me come back to the important slide. They empathized, defined, ideated, created a prototype, tested it, then created the actual product. Actually, it's a web portal, and then made it work within 12 hours of time. So here, this can be possible. So when you look at the biggest of big IT companies, if you have a problem statements like this, first they will be, any number of people will be sitting together. They may be asking for a month's time maybe to develop this kind of a software, but our kids developed it in under 24 hours. We don't have that. That's the reason why I am telling you, we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to refer any technical purpose to understand what is innovation or how can you get problem statement and to innovate on certain problem statements. Look around, you will see any number of problem statement. Be happy that you are in a course, you are enrolled to a very beautiful course, whether it is engineering or management. You are in a very beautiful course that actually gives you a freedom to experiment things. I'm specifically talking about engineering. Engineering is a course actually that acts as a workshop where you can go there, make all your failures happen there, and then eventually come up with some good results. So coming to that, so let me conclude by telling one more example, a very interesting problem, design thinking problem. So this is tomato ketchup. Most of the times we have this wonderful bottle sitting on top of the restaurant tables. When we try to get the sauce, you will have a bad time. So this is one problem I think most of you have faced. How can you solve this problem? So there are interesting solutions for that. What they did was they changed the design. So most of the time, when you think about a bottle, the traditional thinking will demand you to think that the bottle, the cap is on top. That's a traditional way of thinking. But if you go out of the box, upside down, you have the bottle as the base. Sorry, top as the base, the cap as the base. So now you have a solution in front of you. So this is how you need to think. Don't think in the traditional way. If you see something, if you see a problem, first of all, think that anyone can solve the problem. Never feel that I am the only person in the world can have a solution for this problem. So many people, many ways, and there are people who can solve this problem better than you. First, accept that fact. And then secondly, think in your own way. That is there the uniqueness or the creativity. Apply your creativity. Your creativity cannot be emulated by another person because every individual in the world are unique. And then try to innovate. So when you look for multiple solutions, at some point of time you stuck with one solution, and that actually made you to say that, wow, I have a solution. So if you say wow, definitely other people who looks at your solution will say wow 3 times. Okay. So the base reference to problem solving, first of all, you think from your perspective. If you make yourself happy with your solution, definitely the people around will be happy with that. So take that as a guarantee from my side. First of all, you convince yourself. And if you're happy with your solution, definitely others will also be happy. So if you wanted to make sure that if you have close friends or good peers, ask them, get their feedback, apply on top or suggestion, apply the suggestions on your solution, modify the solution and go. Finally, you will be ending up with a very, very unique solution. So this is another example. So when you look, you can see product life like this in the supermarket. One, design the right thing, and the second thing is design the thing right. So are you going to do or going to design the right thing, or are you going to design the thing right? So this is a call with yours. You can decide whether you can do something totally differently, or just try to solve a problem. You try to solve the problem and believe that that is the best solution. So these are, so let me conclude by saying that design thinking is not a rocket science. It is actually, some people say that it is a philosophy. You can apply in your life. നമ്മൾ പലപ്പോഴും എന്തായിരിക്കും, പേരൻസ് എന്തെങ്കിലും കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറയുമ്പോൾ അവരുടെയൊക്കെ തർക്കിക്കും. ഒരു പരിധി വരെ ടീച്ചേഴ്സിന്റെ അടുക്കായാലും നമ്മൾ ചിലപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യും. കൂടുതൽ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന അമ്മമാരുടെ അടുക്കായിരിക്കും. ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ ദേഷ്യപ്പെടുന്ന ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഓഫ് ആൾക്കാർ, ഇൻക്ലൂഡിങ് മീ, നമ്മൾ അമ്മമാരുടെയൊക്കെ ദേഷ്യപ്പെടാറുണ്ട്. ബട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഒരിക്കലും ആ ഒരു ഫേസിൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവരുടെ സൈഡിൽ നിന്ന് ചിന്തിക്കില്ല ബിഫോർ ഡൂയിങ് ദാറ്റ്. അപ്പൊ ആ ഒരു സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ആലോചിക്കുക, സോ ഇഫ് യു ഹാവ് ഡിസൈൻ തിങ്കിങ് ആസ് എ പ്രോസസ്, ബിഫോർ ഡൂയിങ് ദാറ്റ് യു തിങ്ക് ഫ്രം ദയർ പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ്. എന്തിനായിരിക്കും അത് പറഞ്ഞത്, ഇന്നത് ചെയ്യണ്ട, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇന്ന് ബൈക്കിൽ പോകണ്ട, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ ഒരു കാര്യത്തിൽ ചെയ്യണ്ട, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഫ്രണ്ട്സിന്റെ അടുക്ക പോകണ്ട. So if they say, you think from their perspective, then sometimes or most of the times you may not be doing that. Our mindset like, so design thinking, I'm saying that it's not a technical thing. It's not something connected with innovation, technology. It's a mindset. We are coming to that. So the concluding things that we are finally going to conclude, that design thinking is a mindset you can apply in your daily life, your personal life. That is what the daily life, personal life. Even you are working, employed, you can work it, apply it in your daily working related stuff. So you can take it as a philosophy, you can take it as a mindset, or whichever way you take it, it's a very beautiful thing. So if you have design thinking, especially before doing something, thinking from the other person's perspective, if you do that, others will definitely accept you. So if you want to be accepted, or if somebody loves you, or loves your solutions, and take this as something that you have to practice and make it in your DNA. So that, I think my time is almost up. So maybe I take a few questions if you have any questions at this point of time. Otherwise, Vishnu is anxiously waiting to take it over. So I hope that the crux of design thinking, you got some idea about that. So if you say an yes, I think that will make my day. So I will wait to see some of the responses, or I'm happy to answer to some of your queries related to this if you have now. Otherwise, we will wait till the end of the session to have an interaction. All right, good. Seeing some responses. All right. All right, so ഒരു ഇതുണ്ട്, കേട്ട പാട്ടിനേക്കാളും കേൾക്കാനിരിക്കുന്ന പാട്ടുകൾ അതിമധുരം എന്ന് പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. സോ ദ റിമൈനിങ് പാർട്ട്, I am sure that Jishnu will rock. So Jishnu, handing all these creative individuals to you. So it's
yeah. So first of all, good evening to all of you. So the staff and students. Oh, sorry, I think there is an introduction coming. Aaron, I see that you've turned on your camera. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay and Das, for your wonderful session. So any questions you have for him can be asked now. Right now, it's the time for Q&A. You can put it in the chat, or you can speak up.
So Aaron, it's no issues. We can take the questions at the end. So we can have Jishnu taking our decision.
So now I call upon Shirya Das for vote of thanks for this session.
Thank you. Good afternoon, one and all. Respected director, moderator, speaker, faculty members, and all my friends. It is my privilege to extend vote of thanks for this session. We had literally an enlightening and productive session here. So for that, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our reputed institution, respected director Dr. A.J. Joshua, institution innovation council authorities, all our faculty members and staffs of FISAT College and the organization of this program for giving us this opportunity and providing us with such an eminent or excellent resource persons for pave our way through. I thank Mr. Anto, oh sorry sir, I thank Mr. Aaron for delivering presidential address and Tom Ando for the detailed welcome address. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation towards Mr. Riji Entas, the Head of Knowledge Office at ICT Academy of Kerala, on behalf of FISAT College and myself, for sharing your invaluable time and knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. It was really an colorful insight on the topic. Finally, I thank all the students and research scholars for cooperating and participating in this session. And once again, thank you.
Thank you, Chiridas. Now I call Mr. Jishnu Jyotish, work student, SRH Berlin University of Applied Sciences, to take the next section on innovation for critical thinking. I welcome you, sir.
So thank you, Aaron, and again, good evening to all of you, and I'm really happy to be here. Before I begin with my session, കുറച്ച് comments on which I wanted to make, but I didn't want to interrupt Reggie sir, and I was also kind of managing a crisis here. So Aparna, I still have my lucky pen, and this pen, if Reggie sir, if you notice, this was a gift from you actually. So yeah, it is possible to maintain a pen for more than 2 years, and there's nothing wrong in doing that. Again, so you may notice that my video feed is coming in from one device, and my audio is coming in from the other device. I do that because I really want to, and I really like interacting with you guys, and also because it's a backup. For a device of ILM, I still have my other device there. So primary function is so that I can read your chats and messages and interact with you. So it would be really cool. I mean, the batch is pretty interactive, so please maintain this for my session as well. And yeah, so if you want to see me, and if you think that I'm good looking enough, just pin the video to the screen and leave it there. Otherwise, you just have to listen to me, nothing more. So before I begin, let me just start off by sharing my screen. Okay, so I hope my screen has reached you guys. Yeah, I think so.
Yes, Jishnu, it's here.
Okay, thank you. If I'm guessing, that's Sanjana, right? So hi, Sanjana. Welcome to this session as well. Oopsie.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, so the topic that I've been added for today is innovation and critical thinking, and of which I'll be focusing mostly on logic and innovation and how you can use a combination of logic with critical thinking to aid your innovation. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So yeah, again, my name is Jishnu, and as for who I am, I'm an automobile engineer based on my bachelor's degree. And currently I'm a student as well. So I'm doing my master's in renewable energy, waste, water, and resources management. So I like to describe myself as sort of a technology enthusiast. I'm not an expert, and I'm definitely not an expert in critical thinking either. But yeah, I'm enthusiastic about these things. So I like to keep myself updated and aware of whatever is happening in these sectors: innovation, entrepreneurship, new technology. So I'm mostly an enthusiast. Okay, so and apart from that, I'm also a trainer and mentor to students, startups, innovators, and young entrepreneurs. I do it in Kerala and India, and also in Berlin. So yeah, which brings us to the other fact. So I'm from Cochin, but I live in Berlin right now. I'm doing my master's here in Germany, and I'm also an open source activist. So open source software matralla, I'm also kind of a promoter and a supporter of open source hardware. And if you haven't heard of open source hardware yet, I'm sorry, but if you have ever used an Arduino or if you have used a Raspberry Pi, then you have definitely come in contact with it, even if you're not aware of it. We haven't made you guys so much aware of it. So as for my professional history or work history, I started quite young. I was working by the time I was in my second year of bachelor's as a sort of a consultant or let's say, what do you say, a person who makes PowerPoint presentations basically for young entrepreneurs who wanted to do their pitches to innovate investors. Okay, so which kind of developed into a freelance career by the time I graduated, and I was very happily making a career for myself, connecting innovators with investors and vice versa. Okay, so after that, I kind of got tired of it, and I joined up as a project intern at ICT Kerala, worked there for a year and 3 or 4 months, as Regisa said. The project intern I had to start Edu, but then they put me in trainings and they made me create content, educational content, which kind of shifted me into the academics and educational sector. So currently, I'm a working student. Because I'm a student, they have to give me this title at SRH Berlin, which is the university where I study. And what I do here is mostly administrative work. I'm an assistant to the director of the university. But apart from that, I also design modules and I mentor students here. And I am also, you can say, I'm a coordinator on some of the modules. So apart from that, I'm also currently working as an empanel trainer at ICT Kerala. And thank you to the pandemic. I'm one of those people who benefited from the pandemic, actually. ICT had to move most of their lectures online, and which meant that I could work from here. Okay, so I joined up as an empanel trainer recently, and that's my professional history. So Reggie sir did a pretty awesome job teaching you guys design thinking, and he talked a lot about creativity and, in a sense, thinking out of the box. What is visible in the other, what is the deeper meaning in it? Okay, so let us try out a game. I will copy and paste this link right now, and you can say that it's sort of a test, maybe. Um, I'll just paste this link in the chat, and I'll be happy if oh, okay, Sanjana, you've done that already. Thank you very much, Sanjana. So Sanjana is one of our co-trainers and from ICT, and she usually assists me and supports me on a lot of sessions, and yeah, she knows it. So if you follow the link, I know some of you joined from your mobile and some from your laptop or computer, but if you follow the link, you will be taken to something that looks like this. Okay, so this is the page you have, and just scroll down a bit first of all, and you will have the option of selecting between these few buttons. So I think we can start off on the simpler level, which would be 5 and 3 makes 4. Okay, ಅದೊಂದು click yeah. And now your challenge is to kind of get 4 liters in a jug. Okay, so what all can you do near Chenya? You can fill up a jug. You can definitely empty out a jug, and you can also transfer between jugs. So if, for example, I filled a 3-liter jug, I can transfer it to this jug. Okay, so these are the options available to you. Now, what I want you to do is try and get 4 liters of water in a particular jug. Okay, so I'll give you 3 minutes for that, and within 3 minutes, I'll get back to you guys. Okay, if you have a solution. Yeah, so did anyone find a solution? If you found it, just drop me a yes or a no in the chat. Okay. So yeah, Sham, you found the solution. Perfect. Awesome. Amazing. Yeah, so well, since one person has found the solution, it's rude to make him wait longer. So just come back to the meeting. I think I will show you the solution. Okay, and then we'll discuss about it maybe later. And if you're a fan of the Die Hard series of movies, you may recollect and remember that this is actually in the movie, this scene, or this is part of a scene, this particular game. So the way you solve it is, so first you have to fill the 5 liter one like this, and then you transfer whatever is it into the 3 liter capacity, and now you empty the 3 liters. Okay, you throw away the 3 liters, and then you transfer the 2 liters into 3 liters. Now what we have is we have 5 liters of water here, and the space for 1 liter of water in the smaller jug. Okay, you transfer it and you get 4 liters. So yay, I solved the question that I put up, which was obvious. But yeah, try it out. You'll find a lot of puzzles like this, and puzzles are actually a fun way to learn a lot of new things. Okay. So I'll come back to my presentation, and we'll do a debriefing of why we did that small exercise, or why I gave you the chance to do it. Okay. So it's again all about critical thinking. What I told you when I gave you that game was to think out of the box and think maybe a bit differently. Does anyone want to say anything? Okay, I thought somebody turned on their microphone, but yeah, it's okay. So critical thinking is equally as important, or it is complementary to creativity. So when you have to think out of the box, or when you have to think beyond the norms or rules or regulations or whatever, deal with something that you're given with, you will have to define your own box. You'll have to define your own boundaries and create your own space, and that is where critical thinking comes in. Where do you draw the boundaries, where do you draw the limits of creativity, and how do you use creativity? And that is what this session is mostly going to be about. And before I begin, disclaimer, I will not be able to turn you all into critical thinkers by the end of this session. If I promise that, I would be lying, absolutely lying. Karanam, that is not possible. Critical thinking and that mindset is something that takes time to develop, and you do it through practice. Am I an expert in it? Definitely not. Am I a perfect critical thinker? Obviously not. Even I'm in that learning process. But what I can do is I can set you in the right direction, maybe give you a few tips and tricks on how to improve this aspect. Okay. But then again, it is up to you to develop it further and take it beyond that. Okay. So another question for you. My sessions are usually filled with a lot of these interactions and exercises and questions. I really like making you guys work more than I work. Okay, so what do you see on the screen? Screenil എന്താണ് ഇപ്പോൾ കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നത്? Apart from this orange squiggle on the top side, which is part of the ICT template, I'm not a big fan of it, but yeah, what do you see? Aparna says she sees a green circle. Ananya sees a green circle as well. Anyone else? Anything else? Green circle, Archana, again. Nirmal sees green color. Chiria, green circle and white background. Alina, green ball. Sandra sees a green world. That is pretty interesting. Any other answers? A big green dot. That's what Aparna sees. And green circle, what do you see? A question mark. Sham. That is extremely descriptive, which is actually a good quality. We'll come to that later. Anything else? Any other answers? Does anyone want to expand the box? Green colored circle. Okay. Yep. So I guess that is enough for me to work with, and I've gotten quite a few interesting answers. What do you see, Nirmal? You see the question as well, okay? That's just a question, Corporal. Anyway, you saw it. Before we do an analysis on that, we'll clear up some misconceptions. I have your answers here, but let us clear up some misconceptions about critical thinking, okay? So people think that critical thinking is similar to criticizing, find weaknesses in it. People think that it is mostly what do you say, narrow focused nitpicking, where you kind of analyze it with a very narrow perspective and try to find issues with it and faults with it. But that is where I slightly disagree. Critical thinking is a bit more than that. Okay, so yeah, of course, finding faults and finding issues is definitely a part of it. But more than that, critical thinking is also about finding solutions and finding answers to the questions that you come up with. Okay, and it requires you to look at things from different perspectives and viewpoints. So when you're faced with a problem or a solution, or if you have to find a solution to a problem, critical thinking makes you look at it from other people's perspectives. So not just the user's perspective, your manufacturer's perspective, your intermediaries perspective, your marketing department, if you have one, their perspective, their viewpoints. ഇതിലെല്ലാം നിന്ന് അതിനെ അനലൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ് ക്രിട്ടിക്കൽ തിങ്കിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ആൻഡ് contradictory to what people believe, critical thinking and criticism also utilize a lot of creativity, because when you ask the questions and when you try to find these faults, you have to be as creative as possible. You have to imagine scenarios which you may not even have dreamed about yet. Okay, and also when it comes to finding these solutions, you have to be as creative as possible to make sure that the solutions you find to these questions are the best kind of solutions. Okay, and this also takes a lot of openness and willingness to adapt. But narrow focused, this is not at all narrow focused, and it's not for people with a narrow focused mind or mentality. So if you're a pure technologist, you may not be really good at critical thinking. If you're a pure artist, you may not be really helpful, or your inputs may not be very useful when it comes to critical thinking. You have to be open, you have to be willing to adapt, and you have to be a bit flexible to the answers, solutions. Sometimes you will have to accept that you were wrong in the first place. Okay, coming back to our green dot. So a lot of you answered that it's a green circle. Alina answered that it's a green ball. Sandra said it's a green world, and it could be anything. So this particular green dot, of course, when I searched for it, when I was making my presentation, Google ഞാൻ എൻട്രി ചെയ്യുന്നത് അതെ green circle തന്നെയാണ്, which is true. But share, it could be the top view of this green sphere that you see there. It could be the top or bottom view of a green cone, or the green cylinder that you see there. Okay, so this is where perspective comes in. Okay, so when you're faced with a question or a problem to solve, perspective matters. You have to be able to think from other angles. Is there a third dimension to it? Is there something that I'm not yet seeing, or that I've not yet noticed about this? So to the person who answered green ball and green world also, I'll give a point there. And to the descriptive person, we'll come to that later. So both of you, kudos, good job. And even if you didn't do this, no worries, no issues. Like I said, even I was not an expert. ഇതേപോലത്തെ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ വായിച്ചിട്ടും സെഷൻസ് അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടൊക്കെയാണ് I develop these perspectives. Okay, so it's never too late to start. Okay, so let us look at the thought process between, or the difference in thought process rather, between the people who answered that it's a green circle and the people who answered that it's a green ball or green world or whatever. Okay, so before that, this is possibly the most concise definition of critical thinking that I could come up with. And according to me, it is the ability to think in an organized and ordered manner based on facts, reasoning, and due logical analysis of all inputs and evidence, and make choices or decisions. pretty long sentence, but yeah, let me break it down and explain it for you. So it is your ability to gather and organize all the facts, all the reasonings you have, and all the inputs that you have, gather them, organize them, and analyze them logically, and considering all everything that's available to you, and then based on what conclusions you reach, you have to make choices or decisions. Okay, so this is the entire process of critical thinking in a nutshell. Let us take a look at it in detail. Okay, so on the left side, you will see three words, which is observe, analyze, and report. And on the side, on the other side, you see a lot of points there. Okay, so on the left side, what you see is a normal thinking process. Okay, so people who said green circle, I was also one of you the first time I saw this exercise. Um, what we followed there, or what you followed there, was the normal thinking process where you observe something. And over here, of course, you have nothing but a green circle. That is what you see. And your brain goes into analysis mode, and then you start analyzing it. Okay, so you observe it, you take in information, and then your brain is comparing it with whatever information it has available from your memory. So നമുക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും അറിയാം what the color green looks like. We've been learning about, unless you're colorblind, I'm sorry, but we all know what green looks like, and we've been learning what green color is ever since our kindergarten days. And we know that something that looks like this is a circle, or defined as a circle. Okay, and then what we did was we reported that information, or in this case, you typed it out in the chat. Okay, so that is normal thinking. You observe, you compare it with whatever information you have in your brain, and you report it. Okay. When it comes to critical thinking, there are some additional steps involved. Okay, so apart from the observe, analyze, and report, the analyze part has to be expanded a bit. Okay, the analysis data, we'll have to ask a lot of questions. So what do we want to accomplish? What is the end goal that we have to reach? What is the problem, and what could be the solution for that? What do we have? So in this case, of the green circle on the screen, what do we have as input? And then the third question, even more important, what do we need more? ഇതിൽ കൂടുതൽ എന്ത് information ആണ് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടത്? So is there anything that I'm missing out? Is there a perspective that I'm not seeing? What do we need extra from this? And what are the steps and stages that I have to go through? How many times do I have to think about it? How many times do I have to evaluate it, judge it? What are the unknowns, especially? Is there anything that I don't know about? Is there anything that has escaped my attention? And then how much do they matter? Okay, if these unknowns are big enough, you have to start the process all over again. If they're not big enough, then yeah, you can proceed. So how much do these things matter? The inputs matter, the unknowns matter. And then once you have thought through all of this, and once you have your conclusion, you report it. Okay, so that is thinking critically. Okay, thinking normally, thinking critically in Tamil difference another. So yeah, again, critical thinking is also a bit about seeing the bigger picture. So what is more than what you have been given? Where does your part fit into it? It is also about putting pieces together. We all have seen, or we may have played with this thing called jigsaw puzzles, where you have a picture that is cut up into different sized chips or blocks, and then you have to assemble it together. So that requires critical thinking, and critical thinking in real life also applies a lot of those principles. Sometimes you may be given random scattered information and inputs. അതിനെയൊക്കെ എങ്ങനെ നമുക്ക് fit ചെയ്യാം? How do we bring all that together? That is what critical thinking is about. And analyzing the minor details, you look into stories, you look into the backgrounds of things that have been given to you. You zoom in literally into whatever you have and seeing the small details, noticing that. And then all these processes, logic is your best friend. Okay, logic is something that accompanies you through this process, because when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to computing and comparing things, you have to do it with a logical mindset, where if A is bigger than B, then A has to be considered or has not to be considered. It is very plain and clear cut. But then it starts with logic-based evaluations, especially the part where you ask questions, where you figure out the issues with it. But then it ends with creativity and creative solutions, like I said. So when you're expanding the box, you have to create your own box, which is where the creativity part comes in. But your box has to have some sort of dimensions to it. So that is where your logic comes in. So critical thinking to me is a combination of creative thinking and logical thinking that kind of goes hand in hand. It's sort of like two sides of a coin, so to say. Okay. Yeah, another question or opportunity to interact with you guys. All of you have smartphones, probably, obviously. If there's somebody who doesn't have a smartphone, you have a lot of respect right now from me. But more importantly, our phones have this feature called light mode and dark mode on the Lala. So, how many of you use light mode and how many of you use dark mode? Can you please write it down in the chat? Light anegi, just enter light. Dark anegi, just enter. Okay, dark mode, dark mode. Chiriya and Archana. Ananya, again, dark mode. Vishnu, dark mode, dark mode. Dark mode. I'm just waiting for that one. Oh, yeah, there you are. Meenu Mohan, light mode. Everyone else is using light. Okay, another one. Alina, okay. And dark, 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 dark. So of all the responses I've received, most of you use dark mode and the other two use light mode. Who are the others? One is Alina and the other is Meenu. Okay. Meenu, Alina, Facebook, Instagram accounts and one. Yes, no. Okay, yes. Light and dark alternatively, Sham. Okay. Okay, so let us discuss about this a bit more. Okay, I personally use dark mode on almost all of my devices and my applications. So the light mode and dark mode and themes have existed on mobiles for quite some time, not so long, but for some time. Okay. Baksha, recently, what I've noticed is over the last maybe 1.5 years or 2 years, every single application from YouTube to Facebook, Instagram, and to a certain extent, even Google Meet has a dark mode option for your mobile devices. Okay, so why do you think they do that? എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് അത് ചെയ്തത്? Any guesses? Why do you think these applications came up with a dark mode? Saves battery. Yes, definitely. Anything else?
It reduces eye strain.
Eye strain. I didn't hear. I mean, get your name. Who was that?
Rajalakshmi.
Rajalakshmi. Thank you. And Godly, energy saving. Ashtana, eye protection. Anthony, comfortable for eyes. Sandra, eye strain. And Sham, to reduce eye strain. Okay. So generally, like based on the responses you've given here, if I do a summarization of it, so we can say that it's either to save battery or to reduce the strain on your eyes or make it a bit more comfortable. And Sandra, you think it makes it look better? Point. Yeah, I think things with a black background look better too, but some people don't agree. And okay, Aparna, I think you're a hosteler. She says it's not to disturb others at night. Okay, could be. um, you're all right to a certain extent, and this is exactly what these companies want you to believe or yeah, think. And to the people who said eye protection and make it more comfortable to the eyes, that is obviously true. But these companies, these IT companies and people who make these applications, they are way smarter than us. Okay, your comfort level, there is a very definite reason behind why they are giving it to us. Okay, so let us take an application like YouTube. What is their goal? It is their goal to make us spend the most amount of time. Okay, Instagram comes with a screen time reminder, but nobody takes it seriously. It is just done to show that they care about you. Their ultimate goal is to keep you scrolling through the feeds as long as possible. Facebook was the first to come up with this concept of unending feeds, where there is no bottom to your feed. You can keep on scrolling for minutes, hours, days, even, and you will not get to the bottom of it. Okay. So all these applications and maybe to a certain extent devices, their purpose is to increase your screen time. Okay, and that is the reason why they give you this option where you can switch to dark mode. It is easier on your eyes. Imagine you're using light mode at night, even with a low brightness, it will put a lot of stress on your eyes. Upon Instagram, you may scroll for 30 minutes and then your eyes are paining, you'll go to sleep. They don't want that to happen. They want to keep you scrolling for 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay, so that is why over the last maybe 1.5 to 2 years or 2.5 years, every application out there, almost every application out there that requires users to have screen time has come up with a dark mode. And you may see that it is also coinciding with our pandemic and lockdown when people were actually using phones for longer. Okay. So this is an example of critical thinking. They identified a problem, which was that users were getting tired of looking at this feed. It was stressful to their eyes, and that is the reason why they were logging off or closing the application. Then they came up with a solution that would retain users. Adana, they gave a pretty nice explanation, but their idea is to just retain our activity on there. Okay, so this is how critical thinking works. Okay. Another example, if you have seen this piece of futuristic design or monstrosity, however you want to look at it, can you name it? What is it? Screen la കാണുന്ന സാധനം. Any guesses? Especially the engineers out there, you can just type it in the chat. Oh, yes, Vishnu. Of course it is. Nirmal, yes. Okay, and Amal, perfect. So yeah, as your yes, that's the nickname for it, Ijaz. So as your friends have mentioned in the chat, yes, it is a Tesla. It's not yet in production. It's on the way, probably here next year or something. They are planning to make it pretty close to where I live, actually. And they have a factory coming up in Berlin, and they may produce some of them there. So this is a Tesla Cybertruck, which is Tesla's take on a pickup truck. And if you know Tesla and if you know Elon Musk, who has this disruptor of technology and disruptor of the norms image, it is obviously expected from him, right? So whenever he does something very differently. Okay. Creativity max. So when they wanted to test out their rocket, the Falcon 9, what he did was he strapped his own car as dead weight and sent it out to space. It is heading towards Mars. It missed Mars's orbit and it's heading into outer space now. He put a car into outer space. So that is his level of creativity, just for a simple task as like testing your rocket out. Okay. So usually people put concrete blocks or dead weight or metal weights or something like that. But this guy put his own car there. Okay. So people think of it as a creative design from Tesla, something to make it stand out or make it different. But in truth, it is not. There is a very specific purpose and there is a very specific reason why it is like this. Is anyone aware of it? Okay, I'll go into the explanations of it. So again, so I'm an automobile engineer and I kind of follow design quite a bit, especially automotive design. It's quite interesting now that we are moving on from internal combustion to electric propulsion. It's changed a lot. The world has changed a lot. So the reason why the Cybertruck looks like this is because very simple. It is cheaper and easier to manufacture. Okay, so you can see that it's gray, and gray is the only color available because it is unpainted. They just do a metal protection treatment to their stainless steel panels, and that is how they sell it to you, because painting and drying takes time. Time equals money when it comes to manufacturing. So their idea is to pump out as most of these as possible in a year. And that is why they chose to leave it gray. Now, another level of design ingenuity or critical thinking that's gone into it. You'll see that the shape is quite weird. When traditional cars have creases and swoops and they are designed to look attractive as possible. This follows something called brutalist architecture. Okay, so this is very simple, brutal, straight lines, sharp angles, and corners. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ machining a piece of metal into a bent surface or a creased surface or adding design elements is costly because you need equipment for that. Okay, you need presses, hydraulic presses, you need manufacturing equipment like that, and it adds to the cost, it adds to the time, and cost of machinery matrala, again time, it consumes more time. So they found that it is much cheaper to just leave it out with straight edges and angles. And again, the machines that would be needed to press the panels on this particular truck, because they use heavy gauge steel, would have been very, very expensive. They would have consumed a lot of energy. So again, this is another critical thinking ingenuity or creativity and logic combination where they turned it into a design feature, even though they are doing it to save some money and save some time. Okay, so this is what critical thinking essentially comes up to. Okay, I have to keep an eye on the clock in my watch because yeah, there is quite a bit of content and kind of time limited, I guess, especially since we have to leave some time at the end for interactions. Okay, so which brings us to the second part of the presentation. So we were talking about what is critical thinking. Okay, now let us move on to why is it necessary. So why do we need critical thinking? As an engineering graduate, I see that, like, I know that most of you are, or part of you are engineers or engineering students. You guys are the creators. Okay, you guys are responsible for making the future, literally. And engineering as a profession, I don't know, there are one too many engineering jokes out there. It's kind of turned into a trend. The trend that I really, yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. But sure, in truth, engineers are people who create the future. Okay, it is your designs and it is your plans that are the future. A car that launches in the future, or a building that is being constructed, a mobile phone, or an electronic circuit that is being designed, it was done by an engineer somewhere. Okay, so as builders of the future, you need these critical thinking capabilities. You have to think about what is necessary, what is not necessary. You have to include certain features in your design. You have to exclude some features maybe from your design. And yeah, you have to make it as efficient as possible or as sustainable as possible. So that is why engineers, you need critical thinking. Okay, and as an MBA, or MBA graduate, or somebody who's doing their MBA, in the case of students as of now, why do you need to be critical thinkers? You're not in charge of designing anything, are you? No, you're not. I don't think so. Maybe, but mostly not. But share. Okay, and this is a confession from my side. A long time ago, I mean, maybe a couple of years, I used to think that MBA was possibly and probably the most useless degree that you could get. Sorry, I will apologize in advance, but share that conception has changed. Okay, so an MBA graduate is a person who just attends meetings and takes down notes and reviews reports and writes reports. അത്ര ഉള്ളായിരുന്നു MBA എന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിരുന്നത്. But since I started working a little bit early in my academic life or career, and especially since after I came here, I know that MBA is much, much more than that. Okay, and especially here, I see that the MBA courses at my university, I teach one of them. So they have a bit of technology and they have a bit of tech integrated into it. And these are highly specialized courses too. Why in the MBA graduates are not expected to just sit in meetings, take notes, and write reports based on it, or write proposals. They over here especially are expected to understand what they are working with. If you're working in the aerospace industry, or if you're working in the automobile industry, or maybe healthcare, or maybe even data sciences, you are expected to have a very deep knowledge and very good knowledge about what this field is about and what is the technology that you're dealing with here. Okay, and and you are required to understand these things in depth and point out mistakes or point out improvements and micromanage these projects. You are expected to complement the engineers, okay? Because engineers, of course, we have some financial papers, we have planning, we have certain management papers as well, but it is not enough. So for the future, for us to be innovators, for us to build a better world for tomorrow, all of us need these critical thinking skills. And for MBA graduates, it is about understanding these things and evaluating it, criticizing it. Okay. Now, as a human being, you also need critical thinking. Okay. So let's say that um, you have to make a decision simply ഒരു family based decision ലാണെങ്കിലും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു community based ലാണെങ്കിലും you have to make a decision. You have to be aware that we are all social beings and a lot of people are directly or indirectly connected to us. Okay, so every decision that we make will have an impact on at least one other person or their lives. Okay, so we have to be critical of our own decisions. That is why we have to be critical. And since we all live in a society, sometimes it is that some decisions that we make as a society, this is very dangerous and this is very interesting at the same time, that as individuals, people tend to have one line of thought. And as a society, even if there are individuals who have thought A, as a society, they may tend to think with thought B. Okay, so as a part of the society we live in, we are responsible for the social interactions and how the society moves forward in a big way. And we as a group have to have these critical thinking skills. Even if we feel safe in a crowd, even if we don't mind, I mean, if we know deep down that what we are doing is wrong, but still if you have people supporting you, you may have no problem agreeing with it because you just want to fit in and be safe and part of a crowd. But no, it is your responsibility to see that the crowd decides in the right way as well. And it is applicable to a lot of things from the community or lane waste management. Where do you throw the waste? From you like I think it's improved a lot, but back when I was in Kerala, it was a feature of certain roads or certain localities that or a spot there will be this one empty plot of land where you have a pile of waste. Like, okay, that is because as individuals we know that it is wrong to throw waste in public, but since everybody is doing it and since there is that element of safety of society, we feel comfortable doing it and we do it. Okay, so as a society as well, we have to start thinking critically about our actions and the directions that we are taking and change it. Okay, so this is why we need critical thinking. Yay, another game. Okay, I like to keep it interactive, and I was just wondering, I've been talking for a bit too much, maybe. So let us play a game. I'll give you 5 minutes exactly for this. So the task is to draw this figure that you see on the screen. Baksha, the rules are that you have to trace it without lifting your pen or pencil. Okay, so once you put your pen or pencil on the paper, you're not allowed to lift it and move it to another place. And also, there should not be overlaps. You're allowed to cut lines perpendicularly, but if you have drawn over something, you're not allowed to overdraw or redraw or let's say draw over a part of it. Clear Allah rules? Yes, no? Can someone respond? Okay, thank you guys, Alina and Darshana and Aparna. Okay, so yeah, your time starts about now. I'll give you 5 minutes, and if you have completed it, just drop a completed comment. And this I'll give you guys 5 minutes, Korpalla, till I get as many completed answers as possible. Okay, that was very fast, Rajalakshmi. Very good. So try to trace it out. Okay, Meenu completed it. Good job. We have 2 people completed it, and Sham, you have also completed it, and we have like 100 people in the call. So let's wait. Anupriya, Nirmal, good job. Abdullah, you've also completed it. Great. Alina, you've also completed it. Nice. Anthony, Vishnu. And to the rest of you, just try it out. It doesn't matter if you pass or fail. Maybe you learn something, maybe you don't. Anyway, you'll have fun. Ananya, great job. Just try it out. Okay, give it a try. I'll give you 2 more minutes anyway. Sandra, good job. See, this is why I have a second device so that your responses as well. Abhinav, Sri Lakshmi, Amal, amazing. Anuja, okay, so I'll give you 1 more minute now. Nobody new has completed. Is there anyone still attending it or trying it out? Done, Archanak, okay. Okay, so if you have not completed it, I will show you the solution. I'll be very happy to show you the solution to that, okay. Aparna, you're unable to do it. Don't worry. Other than one other, we'll see how it can be done. Okay. So for this demonstration, I have never used this application for a demonstration, but let us see. I hope it works out. So the application that I'm using right now is called Snap. This is sort of a block coding platform to say. And what it does is it helps you create programs and instructions that are kind of like computer programming, but you don't need to use programming languages, which is very interesting. So there are a few more platforms which I will enter, and of which the one that I'm entering right now is very interesting. So the chatlo njanipporu peritittundu. It's called Thunkable, and this is a platform which will help you create Android and iOS programs and the applications for your mobile phones. Okay, and you don't have to study Android Studio or Swift programming. It is simple as this, as simple as fitting blocks together like this. So if I give you a demonstration, yeah, see, it is this simple. You just have to drag and drop things into place. So yeah, let us see how it is done. And if possible, e white space കാണുന്ന arrowയുടെ എന്താ movement to follow ചെയ്യാൻ നോക്കുക. I have tried to slow it down as much as possible. But yeah, it will still be a bit fast, but I can execute it multiple times, so don't worry. So just look at the movement of the arrow, okay? Oops, it minimized itself. Sorry, I'll execute it with maximized screen again. Yeah, so that was too fast, I guess, but how you draw it is like this. So you draw this line first, the top vertical, in the third square in the left side left vertical line upwards. Then you go right to this end, which would bring you to the right side of the top right square, okay? And then you go up to the top of that square, you go left, you go down to halfway to this side, okay? That is the key. You stop at the halfway mark, then you draw around and complete this middle square, which will bring you back to the point where you stopped. From where you can drop down and go to your left and complete it, okay? So just to show it again, I don't know if it is too fast. Yeah, it was too fast. Sorry for that, but yeah, this is how you draw it. You take this line up, this to the right, top, left, to the middle point here, stop there, complete this square like this, and then drop down and to the left, okay? So Aparna, do you have an idea how to do it? You were the only one who said that you were not able to do it, and you were the only one who had the courage to say that. Good job, keep it up. ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാലേ ഉത്തരങ്ങൾ കിട്ടുള്ളൂ എന്നാ പറയുന്നത്. So yeah, for the courage, 10 points. Cheidu, okay. So yeah, objective met. The person who wanted help with it has got help. So yeah, I'm happy. Let us move on and let us see why we did it. Okay. Yeah, so that was the pattern. Now let us just look at this pattern. Simple to learning it is just 3 squares or 3 blocks, which is something that all of us can draw. If when it comes to geometry, we've all been learning what a square is since maybe 4th standard or 3rd standard onwards. We all know how to draw 3 squares, and if I take these limitations and restrictions away, it is very easy for you to do this activity. It will take all of you, and let me just check how many are there. 100 people. Okay, 100 people, all of you will take less than 10 seconds to draw all of this, and I would have been piled with messages in my chat. But share. That is not how real life works. No, there are no cases and no scenarios where you have unlimited resources. Okay, so whenever we come or whenever we are faced with a real life problem, it always comes with its own set of restrictions or let's say limitations. Okay, so there is no free lunch for all, and there is nothing that is unlimited. And three good practical examples are you all have devices, computers, and mobile phones. None of us have unlimited memory. So and of course, if you have a premium cloud account, yeah, you sort of, but even there are certain limitations. You cannot have unlimited storage on your device, on a memory card or a hard drive. You cannot have unlimited RAM or processing capacity. There are limits to it. So when you are making a program or writing a piece of software, you have to take into account that it has to be very lean and mean and efficient. Okay, and these constraints apply like that. നമുക്ക് ഒരു problem ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ you have either financial constraints, you have resource constraints, you may have time constraints, and you may have n number of other constraints whenever you see a problem. Okay, so when you have to think about these things, when you have to critically analyze all these, and you have to analyze and find solutions to all these, you need to be critical. You need to learn to manage what you have. Okay, you have to manage all these limitations and make the best out of the situation, whatever you have is. Okay, and this is again a concept that has been slowly evolving over time. Okay, പതുക്കെ ഇങ്ങനെ develop ചെയ്ത് വന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു concept ആണ്. We are not 100% sustainable and efficient as a species even now, but over the last few years we've been working towards it. Okay, so let us look at some examples for that. So the first example, if there are any automobile or mechanical engineering friends over there on the other side of this computer, you may know about the efficiency question that we all have. So whether it is a diesel engine or a petrol engine, people care about efficiency now a lot more. So the engine that you see on the right is what they call a big block V8, which is an old American engine, and this particular one was designed by Chevrolet. And I guess they had it on sale between 1965 and the early 70s. Okay, so this is huge, as in this engine is maybe as big as your average coffee table, so maybe a meter, under a meter long, and equally wide and very tall, and it used to guzzle fuel like crazy. This engine comes from a different era. നമുക്ക് ആർക്കും അറിയാത്ത ഒരു ടൈമിൽ നിന്നാണ് ഈ എൻജിൻ വരുന്നത്. Okay, so this was a time when US had literally unlimited resources. It was just after the war, and there was a lot of tech development happening, and the oil industry was booming like crazy. Petrol and fuel was super cheap in the US, and it was all about being bigger, faster, and more powerful. Okay, so companies kind of went on with a race against each other, and some of the engines were, let's say, starting from 6,500 cc to all the way up to 8,000, and even 8,500 cc engines are produced. Incredibly inefficient and stupidly pointless, but yeah, that is what was happening then. Okay, then it all changed. എല്ലാം മാറി മറിഞ്ഞു as the decades passed and we started learning about fuel shortage, and we started learning about limitations, environment, the pollution, the big bad ozone hole. ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ കേൾക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങിയപ്പോഴത്തേന് the conversation and the mood around it changed, and especially in the last 3 years, that movement kind of picked up a lot of what do you say, following with the Fridays for Future events that happened all over the world. Germany and Berlin were at the center of it. So Germany is kind of like the unofficial leader of the European Union. So our Kenda protest on Dengil, they all come to Berlin, and yeah, makes life hell for me. Okay, so the conversation was happening. Greta Thunberg and people like that were household names. And the result of that was an adaptation from the industry's side. They got critical of their own engines and of their own equipment. They realized that if you have to survive here, and if you have to maintain your sales and numbers and your public image, most importantly, you have to fit in with the times, and you have to start talking about efficiency and what do you say, savings and stuff like that. And the result was from another engine manufacturer or automobile manufacturer based out of the US. And that is what you see on the left side of the screen. So that is actually an airline carry-on suitcase. So this is pretty small, less than maybe half a meter long and wide, and it is designed to fit into the overhead compartment of your aeroplane. Okay, so inside that is a revolutionary engine called an Ecoboost engine. It was actually on sale in India as well before Ford decided to pack up and leave. They had the Ecoboost on sale in their EcoSport model. So this engine is maybe 1000 cc, 998 cc to be exact, and it is small enough to fit inside an overhead carry bag. And it is equally light, it is super efficient, and at the same time, it puts out a lot of power for its size. So the 6.5 block that you see on the right used to put out like 150, 160 horsepower at its peak, but this could put out 123 horsepower just from 1 liter or 1000 cc or 998 cc to be exact. So which is like super efficient. At the same time, it does the job very well. Okay. So this is how a company used critical thinking on its own products to fit into it. This took a lot of innovation and engineering. The thought process that led to that innovation and engineering was critical thinking, where they had to fit in and they had to address needs, which was a problem that they faced. They used critical thinking, found out what they can cut out, what they don't need, and this is the result. Okay. And another application of this would be where your food comes from. Okay. So agriculture or farming has been, let's say, the cornerstone of human civilization. Okay, ever since we started settling down in a place and living together in villages or cities or communities and settlements, we've been almost regularly practicing agriculture. And on the left, you will see, I think, yeah, on the left for your screen, you will see a very small image of farming as it was in the olden days. Olden days, no, remember, it was just like this up until the 70s, even in India, okay, where you had very basic tools and you used animals for your power requirements or your manual labor requirements, and people had to work very hard. Okay, there were no fertilizers, there were no pesticides, there was definitely no weather prediction or nothing like that, and people had to work with the soil, literally. Okay, and that was all well and good till we hit the population boom space. Okay, so there was this time period in human history where we kind of started expanding and growing as a population very, very fast. Okay, India faced this problem. നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്ത് green revolution എന്നുള്ളൊരു movement വന്നു, which was aimed at industrializing or supporting and augmenting agriculture with industrial support. Okay, so around that time, it brought us to the second picture that you see. We started developing machinery. Okay, so and this is also again an application of critical thinking and So you see a problem. You cannot get animals to work for so long without tiring them out. And if you needed to get the same amount of work done in the same amount of time, you need a lot more animals. Okay. Then they thought, okay, we have another form of propulsion available, which is called an internal combustion engine, a diesel engine or a petrol engine. Why don't we use that instead of an animal? And that is how your agricultural tractor was born. Okay. And these tractors, they kind of, I mean, again, with this critical thinking, because it was innovation, but it was not a new invention. Okay. It took some thought process. You identify the problem. Animals cannot work hard. Animals take a bit more time. What do we need? Something a bit more powerful, something a bit more reliable and consistent, and something that does not get tired. What is it like that? Kudire replace the arana or in the internal combustion engine and automobiles. They did the same thing. They replaced the bullock with a slower kudra or a slower internal combustion engine powered automobile called a tractor. Okay, so that is critical thinking again. Then recently, so this I can speak with confidence because this is something that I'm really interested in. This is something that I study and do as well. We started thinking beyond it. Even in the second scenario, where we kind of started augmenting and supporting agricultural activities with industrial support, it was not 100% within our control. There were still pesticides, there were pest problems, and there were still issues with soil fertility. Weather was, of course, a very unpredictable. Sometimes it's your best friend, sometimes it's your worst enemy. So weather was a very moody friend of yours who you could not rely upon. So these were problems that we were yet to solve. And over the last decade or so, we moved into this concept of indoor farming, where we control almost everything. We control what comes into the room. We can fine tune the amount of light that is being supplied to the plants. We can control the amount of water we use very precisely. In the other forms of agriculture, irrigation systems used flood irrigation, where you just let water go and then you stop when there is enough there. Okay. But when it comes to indoor farming and vertical farming, we have very measured water delivery systems that are at least maybe 60 to 70% more efficient. Okay, so it takes about 70% less water to grow plants in an indoor farm than it would in an outdoor farm because you don't have a lot of losses. And weather, again, these rooms could be air conditioned, they could be heated, the humidity level in the rooms could be controlled because they are sealed off. So this would allow us to basically control the weather. If a winter season grow ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്ത crops ആണെങ്കിലും we could all of a sudden have them growing in the middle of winter without having any significant issues. Of course, energy consumption is a big worry still because we need something to keep the lights glowing and the air conditioning running. But yeah, uh, it is much more efficient. And we also started to find that it is a solution to the space problem. So 1 meter square of land is just going to give you 1 meter square of cultivable land. Okay, it is not going to increase. But if you have 1 meter square of space where you can build vertically, you can create 2 meter squares out of it, 3 square meters, 4, depending on how high you go. Okay, so all of a sudden, this issue with space was also solved, which made agriculture more efficient. Productivity is kind of going through the roof as we speak. It will take some time to come into the market, but yeah, it's coming. It's on the way. I can assure you that. Okay, within the next 15 or 20 years, whatever you eat, a large chunk of it, at least 90% of it, would be grown like this. Okay, so again, this is an application of somebody like, or it's a case of somebody evaluating and applying critical thinking to this. Okay, using the fixtures like pumps and pipes, they already existed. We've had access to refrigeration and air conditioning for quite some time as well. We've been building things and building buildings for structures for a long time. We just brought all these things together. We did not invent anything new there. We just innovated a new method with our critical thinking abilities. Okay, and that is how we build the future. And yeah, a very interesting example of this is memory storage devices. So on the left, you see your vacuum tube based storage and transistor based storage systems, over to floppy disks, to the compact disk, memory pen drives, memory cards, and to the micro SDs and micro storages available now. Okay, so the vacuum tube, or maybe the, what do you say, the transistor based storage solutions that we had at the dawn of the computer era, our capacity was maybe about 15, 20 megabytes or 30 megabytes. That's it. The floppy disk, I guess they had 8.5 to 10 megabytes of capacity. CDs took that into the three range, three number range. Like we had 600, 700 megabytes, and in some cases 1 gigabyte was also there. Okay, and memory cards, that is where we started counting it in gigabytes actually. And then we the memory cards and the pen drives, and then we started minimizing it, or making it as small as possible. Now, some of the newest chips that are being developed have capacities in terabytes, and they easily fit on your fingertip or in the palm of your hand. Okay, so that is progress. Why did we do that? We had the access to technology and we had a problem to solve. As our devices are increasing in their versatility, the number of applications that you had available on Play Store or App Store has always increased, and the things that you're able to do with your phone has also increased. Your camera quality has been increasing, which means that memory was becoming more and more important for us. We had a lot more stuff to store and deal with. Okay, so it was unacceptable to be met with a certain, I mean, the corresponding change in device sizes. I mean, I would not be very comfortable picking up my laptop and walking around. It has a 2 TB hard drive, but I cannot make calls from it very comfortably. So people needed a solution to that. They saw a problem. They had the technology. They used their innovative skills and their critical skills and came up with a solution. Minimize these background things. They are in the background, of course, but they are important. Okay, so important background things in a minimize, yeah, make them as small as possible. Give the user more screen space, better cameras, whatever the user interacts with, make it better. Okay, so that is how critical thinking helps. Why we need it. Okay. And another thing, I talked about the society, and the society concept like a we have to learn how to understand information. Okay, but we need critical thinking, because see, as from a young age, this is something that I kind of disagree with our education system, be it in India or even in Germany. Students are kind of we are not used to questioning the teacher. Okay, if a teacher says something, or if a professor says something, we kind of believe it just like that. If it is written in the textbook, it is proof enough for us. We never question the narrative. Okay, but then there are people who kind of question the narrative a bit too much and turn it into conspiracy theories. അതായത് ഒരു ബേസും ഇല്ലാത്ത simple nonsensical stories. Okay, so I will tell three conspiracy theories which I've listed out there on my screen. So the first one is that during the petrol industry boom in the US, people invented, or somebody came up with a substitute for petrol which was sustainable. You didn't have to petrol and diesel, like you didn't have to dig it out of the ground. You could make it in a lab or in a factory and use it. Similar properties, similar materials, but the origin was artificial. Okay, and the conspiracy theory is that all the petroleum companies came together and buried this invention or innovation. They didn't let it come out. Okay, another conspiracy theory is that there was somebody who invented an everlasting light bulb. Okay, and the light bulb manufacturers, they saw that if you have a global market of, let's say, 1 billion light bulbs, one light bulb for every person, or maybe 3 or 4 billion light bulbs, 10, 100 billion light bulbs, once you have sold these, if these bulbs are everlasting, then you no longer have a market. So they kind of suppressed this innovation and invention so that the bulbs would break or the bulbs would burn out and they could keep on selling light bulbs. Okay. And the third conspiracy theory is, yeah, something that we all debate very with a lot of interest. Is the government watching us? Are our authorities spying on us, listening to our conversations, going through our personal and private data? Okay, all these are conspiracy theories that we have all used to, and we have to understand the difference between these. Or are they conspiracy theories? So, ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ മൂന്ന് കോൺസ്പിറസി തിയറീസ്, the petroleum substitute, the everlasting light bulbs, and the government spying on us. Okay, I also thought that these were conspiracy theories up until very recently. So, on the top left of your screen, you will see a graph. Okay, and now what that graph represents is the average lifespan of or operational hours of a light bulb. Okay, so 1880s la thodanggi kazhinjal you can see that there was a very good climb in the average operational hours of a light bulb. So how many hours the light bulb burns was improving almost at a constant rate up until 1925, which is when we had something called the Phoebus cartel. Now, Phoebus or Phoebe is the goddess of light. And this Phoebus cartel is actually a group of, it is not a conspiracy theory anymore. It is well documented. This was a collection of light bulb manufacturers like Philips from Germany, Osram from Germany, and General Electric, Thomas Alva Edison. നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ കണ്ട MRI machine invented, designed by the company. General Electric was founded by Thomas Alva Edison, the guy who is credited with bringing light bulbs to the mainstream market. He didn't invent it, of course, no. He brought it to the mainstream market. Okay, General Electric was a part of it, and these companies came together. They divided the market, global market, and then they kind of struck a deal with each other that we will deteriorate the lifespan of these light bulbs so that we all have something that fits between 1100 to 1400 hours, nothing more, nothing less, so that we can keep on selling light bulbs. Okay, just to make sure that they can sell it, they made worse products for us to consume. And if you think that Apple is the person who Apple is the company that invented planned obsolescence, no, they were like copying this original idea. Okay, coming back to the petroleum substitute, this is a reaction that I learned. I've read research papers on it and a lot of information on it. And this was originally published in this reaction called the Fischer-Tropsch conversion and the associated reactions, were originally published in 1930s. It was kind of buried for a long time. Nobody paid any attention to it up until like a decade ago. Then we see more literature and research coming out of it. Okay, so there is actually a method where you can turn biomass, which you see right here, through gasification, cleaning it up, methanol synthesis, and into gasoline. The efficiency is constantly improving, and it is also being touted as one of the future fuels. So this exists. You can make petrol or diesel from plants and plant material. It is possible. Something that I thought was a conspiracy theory, and now I have to study about it. How funny. Life is very funny. And last but never the least, the third person on the screen. Does anyone recognize him? You can answer in the chat. ആരെങ്കിലും കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ അദ്ദേഹത്തിനെ? Okay, I'll give you a clue. There was a very interesting movie that was made on this person and his life and his actions. And then Breaking Bad. No, it's not him. Any other guesses? He's possibly. It's okay, no issues. You don't have to apologize. You made a guess. You went wrong. So what? I'm not judging you. I haven't even seen you yet. So yeah, why do you have to be sorry? So any guesses? Illa. So this guy is very significant in if you are in any way involved with computers or electronics and data, this guy would be one of the people to follow very closely. His name is Edward Snowden. Okay, Snowden leaks, you may have heard about it. So Snowden was the person who exposed the US government and showed us that the government was indeed watching us, collecting citizen data, and also let us say manipulating it to a certain extent and using it to manipulate people to a certain extent. Okay, and it would not be a surprise to know that such systems exist everywhere in the country that I'm living in right now and in the country that you are sitting in right now. all the governments do that. It is a very well accepted fact now. So these conspiracy theories, which we thought were conspiracy theories, are no longer conspiracy theories. We need to be critical about these things. If we hear someone presenting new information, rather than not believe in him or say that it is absolute nonsense and you're just going against the tradition, if you see somebody going against the flow, just take a moment and think. Give him a bit of your critical thinking abilities and give him some of your time and try to figure out if there is some sort of sense in what this person is talking about. Okay, so that is about conspiracy theories. Now, another reason why we need critical thinking, and this is another game. So I hope all of you are still here and participating. I've been talking for way too much. God, I hate it. So I will be telling a story now. Okay. So what I want you to do is listen to the story. Okay. I will just tell it once. Repeat it. It will be just one continuous story. And then following the story, I will ask you a question, a very simple question that you have to answer. Okay, it's very simple. And you will have 40 seconds to find an answer to it, to solve that riddle or the question. And very important, this part is very important. Please listen. Do not type your answer in the chat till I tell you to. You can type it and keep it ready, but do not even go near the enter key or the send arrow, because I want all of you to send the answers in at the same time. Okay, ഒരേ സമയത്ത് ആൻസേഴ്സ് കിട്ടിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാലായിരിക്കും ഏറ്റവും നല്ലത്. And the reason behind that is because I don't want one answer to influence anybody else's answer. Okay, I want each of your honest and genuine opinions not influenced by anyone else, and genuine answers. And even if you go wrong, even if you think you're wrong, do not hesitate, just send it in, because chances are that you will be right. Okay, so instructions are clear now? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Do not disclose the answer. Okay, thank you. So do not disclose the answer, that's it. Okay, thank you, people. And I think, yeah, okay, so here comes the story. So the story happens a few years ago, I think maybe 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, when I was working at ICT Academy. And Riji sir was my boss, my mentor, my colleague, and also a friend of mine, a very good friend. We have a very nice working relationship at ICT. Hierarchy is sort of almost flat, and of course we give respect to our seniors, but it's flat, let's say. And we have a very friendly relationship there. Okay, and this story comes from an interaction between me and my mentor, Riji sir. Okay, so Riji sir, he got a bonus one month. For it was like a bonus of 6,000 rupees. 6,000 രൂപയുടെ ഒരു bonus കിട്ടി Riji sir, and he went shopping with it, and he bought a ring for it, and it was a very nice silver ring, and he bought it to the office. And I liked this ring. Okay, I really like this ring. So I told Regis sir, I want this ring. Whatever you ask for, I will give it to you. Regis sir is a very fair person. He told me you can take it, no problem. 6,000 cost, you can take it. But I felt guilty. The ring. So I said, it's okay, I'll pay you 7,000 for it. And I bought the ring from him. Okay. And now Regis sir went shopping again. And he found a very interesting mobile phone for 8,000 rupees. It was selling at a huge discount, and then he brings it back to the office. And at that time, we used to share an apartment together, me and the IT admin called Sriraj. Okay, so Sriraj was looking for a new phone, and Sriraj noticed this phone that Riji sir was using. And Sriraj asked him, "Can I have this phone?" And Riji sir, again being the kind person, said, "Yeah, of course, you take it." And the cost price of Annavadi, it is okay. But Sriraj is again a very nice individual. So he was like, "No, I'll give you 9,000 rupees for it." And Sriraj bought this phone from Riji sir for 9,000 rupees. And this is the story. Okay, now my question, don't answer it now, keep the answers ready, don't forget, is whether Riji sir made a wise financial decision. Is he good at business, or did he make a profit? And if he made a profit, how much? If he made a loss in these transactions, how much was it? Okay. So is he kind, innocent? Yeah, we know that. But is he good at business? That is the question. And I'll give you 40 seconds starting now. Answers are in send irudhu. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, 5 seconds remaining. I think I'll give you 5 more seconds. Okay, so the question again, did Riji sir make a profit? If yes, how much? If no, how much was the loss? Okay, so give your answers and yeah, type it in, send it out. For it. We have one answer from Alina, profit 2K, not good at business. He sold it as the loss. He is so empathetic, he even got a small profit by 2K. Yes, 4,000 profit. No, business is to be dealt with strangers also. Okay, not good in business, but made profit. Okay, he made a profit of 2,000 in total. Aparna says Riji sir made a 3K profit. Sandra says it was a 2K profit. 1,000 profit on each. Rajalakshmi, Ashwati, yes, he is good at business. And Maria 2K, he is good at business. Sham, Ija is good at business, and Fabina 2K profit. Pankaj 2K, not good at business. Geetika, but good by heart. Yeah, I totally agree. Archana not good in business, but still 2K profit. Okay, and Gayatri, he made a profit. Okay, so I have a lot of answers here. Some people say he made 3K. Some say he did make a profit of 2K, but he didn't ask for the extra 1,000. He got each. Rather, it was given to him out of pity. It's because we are all good people at heart. Okay, Ananya, and if he had demanded it, the story would have been different. Okay, so some people said that he made 2K profit, and some people said that he made 3K. Some people said that he made a loss actually, and someone said he made 4,000 in profit. What is the correct answer? നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. Okay. So, yes, did somebody want to say something or accident to microphone on Chidano? Okay, let's move on. So this is the story. Okay, so he buys a ring for 6,000, sells it for 7,000, buys a phone for 8,000, sells the phone to his friend for 9,000. Okay, now does anyone want to change their answers? ആർക്കെങ്കിലും വേറെ ആൻസേഴ്സ് ഇടാനുണ്ടോ ഇവിടെ? Does anyone have any different answers now that you have the information on the screen? Okay, yes, Aparna, you say that he made a profit, I guess. Did he make a profit of 1K? Yeah, maybe, Ananya. I don't know. Let's look at it. Okay. I really enjoy these batches, which are really interactive. Okay. I mean, I was really concerned that the 100, 150K, would you be able to interact with people? But this is amazing. I should do more of such batches, I guess. So yeah, let us look at the solution to that from a simple perspective. Okay. Loss of 3K, Abdullah. Okay. നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. So at first, he has, let's say, X amount in his bank account, and he got 6,000 ka bonus, which we won't take into account at all now. So he buys a ring for 6,000, which means that his account balance, whatever it is, X minus 6,000 I. Then he sells the ring for 7,000. So it's minus 6,000 plus 7,000, which gives you an extra of 1,000 in the account at that point. Okay. Then he buys a phone for 8,000, which means it is 1,000, whatever, 1,000 plus X minus 8,000 that he's spending, which leaves you with a net of minus 7,000. And then he minus 7,000 in the Goda, you add the amount that he sold the phone for, which is 9,000. So minus 7,000 plus 9,000 will give you a net profit of 2K plus X, whatever was in his amount after he got the bonus, in his account, whatever after you got the bonus. Okay. So to the people who answered 2K profit, good, excellent. You guys have really nice listening skills. But to the people who made got the wrong answer, do not worry. It is very natural, and this is what happened to me too. Okay, the first time I was faced with this question, I told that Riji or whoever the character was that in my question made a loss. Okay, which was not the right answer. What happened here? let us break this down a bit more further. Okay, so we have sales price minus cost price is equal to profit. This is an equation that we learned early on in our school days. Okay, so the first sale and cost was so the cost of the ring was 6,000, selling price was 7,000. So 7,000 minus 6,000 is 1,000 profit. And mobile decay seller, he sold it for 9 and bought it for 8, which leaves him 1K profit. Again, P total is profit total is P1 plus P2, profit 1 plus profit 2, which is 1,000 plus 1,000, 2,000. Now, since I've told you this, it is very obvious. So you can understand it, you know where you went wrong, and you were able to analyze it. But what happened to us when we were talking about it as a story? എന്താ പറ്റിയെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ our brains are very funny. Okay, they are amazing works of biology. Like, imagine that at some point we were say like a million years ago, or maybe a couple of million years ago, we were a single celled organism floating around somewhere in an ocean, and then millions of years of evolution has led us to here, where I'm talking to you from 6,500 kilometers away. Okay, so our brains are amazing, they're capable, but sure, they also have weaknesses. They tend to get distracted. Whenever you are faced with a situation, and whenever you have a lot of information coming in, especially when I presented it as a story, I put in a lot of unnecessary detail, like register the character, our relationship, names of people who we have not met, and the things that you cannot relate to, even rings and mobile phones, selling, buying, lot of information, a lot of junk information. All the information that you ever needed was right here. ഈ നാല് കാര്യങ്ങൾ minus 6,000 plus 7,000 minus 8,000 plus 9,000. That is all you actually needed. But since our brains are tuned to absorb as much information as possible, it gets distracted. Okay, so our brains cannot cope up with that. It gets distracted. It has to figure out a lot of things which it should not be concerned with, and that is why some of us got the answer wrong. Okay, this is where you have to think critically. Whenever you are faced with information and information overload, you have to develop your brain in such a way that you just focus on the important aspects. You're listening to this presentation, and in total it is 3 hours, but your focus should be on the key points, not the stories and examples that I say. It is all background information. Your focus should have been, I mean, it's way too late to tell that now, but it should have been ideally on the key points that I'm trying to convey to you. Okay, that is where critical thinking again is essential, because the world is filled with information. Okay, now I've told you so far what is the definition of critical thinking and why we need to be critical. Okay, and avada vechu nirthi kazhinja, I'll be like any other normal career coach or someone who just gives you information and inputs and then just leaves. Okay, I'd like to take it one step beyond that, and I would like to tell you some. Of course, I told in the beginning of my lecture that I'm not promising to convert all of you into critical thinkers by the end of this session. But now I'll give you some small short pointers and directions that you can take to make sure that you develop this critical thinking process over time. Because of course, you need a lot of practice. Okay, I'm not perfect. I've been doing this for maybe this process and everything for maybe 6-7 years, I guess. But I'm nowhere near perfect. Okay, and I still make some emotional, stupid decisions, and none of my like major important decisions are critically made, which makes me a hypocrite. But yeah, that is what I am. Okay, so how can we be critical thinkers? Now we have to start using this critical thinking concept and logic. Logic is your best friend, like I said, in evaluation and judgment. Whenever you are presented with a situation, a problem, if അതിപ്പോ നിങ്ങളുടെ ലൈഫിലെ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, if it is about making a choice between A and B, ഇപ്പോ എന്താ ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് പൊറോട്ട കഴിക്കണോ അതോ ചിക്കൻ ബിരിയാണി കഴിക്കണോ എന്നുള്ളത് തുടങ്ങി, should I go for a PhD or something else, or should I start working? And if you're doing your bachelor's, should I go for a master's degree, or should I just find a placement and start working? You have to start taking these decisions in a logical manner, as in not emotional but logical. You have to sit down, talk to your parents, think about your financials, you have to think about your living conditions, the amount of time that you have, commitments that you have made, And based on all of this, after analyzing all of these critically, you have to come to a conclusion. Okay. And also, you have to be able to identify between actual value. What is actual value? I just got a message now, Abdullah. Okay. Later to send you the honor, but yeah, it's okay. I think it's related to the other one, but yeah, okay. So I'll just come back to the section. So actual value and inflated and deflated value. Okay, so ningala mikke cases lo, when you're faced with something, it could be hyped up a bit. So for example, when Riji sir introduced me before the session and during his session, he kind of hyped me up a bit, and I don't think I deserve that much hype because yeah, I'm not as creative or as excellent as he claimed I was. Okay. And then there is the case of deflated value where people don't see the value in something. Okay. A good case of that would be, I think, Aaron, who was hosting this, or Sanjana, who was supporting us with some of the links and everything. And she also gives me feedback continuously. Okay. So these people, they don't have their names or photos on your poster or your event poster, but they are important. Okay, they have a slightly deflated value, but they are in some cases more valuable than me. If I'm not getting continuous feedback on how my session is going, or if I'm talking to a disconnected computer, it has happened. Okay, I mean, I've been teaching online for quite some time now, and especially here in Berlin, I had a class where I disconnected and then I didn't know about it for 10 minutes. എനിക്ക് വാട്സാപ്പിൽ ഒരു കോൾ വരുമ്പോഴാണ് I realized that I was offline. Okay, so that's why I have two devices now. So that is deflated value. Like you don't realize it. I'll give you some examples. Okay, so has anyone heard of this company called WeWork? WEWORK, WeWork. കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ ആരെങ്കിലും? I think they have some of their spaces in, no, okay, they have some spaces in Bangalore. I don't think they have it in Technopark yet, but they were planning to. Okay, so WeWork was a concept which was aimed at creating a co-working space for startups. It's like basically an incubator, but they set up the office and yeah, co-working spaces, exactly, Sham. So they set up the space for you, as in your office, your recreational space, your canteen, your kitchen, whatever it is. You don't have to pay for an office. You just have to use their facilities for a small monthly fee. Especially if you're a startup or a young innovator who doesn't have so much money to build a new office, you could use their facilities for a small price. And if you felt that you could not afford it at a point, you could also stop and go. Okay. So that was the idea of WeWork in essence. And there is this bank called SoftBank based out of Japan. And they had $100 billion fund called the Vision Fund. And WeWork took a lot of that investment. And WeWork presented itself as a tech company. Okay, a tech company that provides solutions to startups. And our tagline or branding. Okay, and that is what caused SoftBank to invest a very large part of their Vision Fund into them. Okay, but what happened was that WeWork was never a tech company. Okay, what WeWork was doing was traditionally what landlords have been doing for centuries, maybe. വീട് പണിയാ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ബിൽഡിംഗ് പണിയാ and rent it out. Okay, they were just glorified real estate marketers or real estate agents. They did not do anything more than that. All their value was only equal to actual value was only equal to the value of the property that they had leased or bought. Nothing more than that. They had no value at all, which meant that SoftBank invested in a concept that did not exist in reality. It was just inflated and hyped up a bit. Result was that they managed to almost bankrupt SoftBank and their Vision Fund. Okay, so this is an example of WeWork where it's actually hyped up a bit more than is necessary, and that caused problems. Okay, now second case of social media. I think all of you use social media. Most of you are present and have an Instagram or Facebook account. Most of you watch videos on YouTube. I personally prefer YouTube. Facebook, Instagram accounts on the, but I'm the maniac that posts once in a year and nothing else. So now I want some input from you. What is social media to you? When you watch a video on YouTube or when you go to Facebook or Instagram, why do you do it? What is social media for you? എന്തിനാണ് നമ്മൾ ആ അക്കൗണ്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആപ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് ഓപ്പൺ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? Ananya, connecting people. Good. Communication. Nirmal. Nice. Memes. Yeah. Geetika, entertainment for time pass. A platform to share content, to connect with people, and to see what others have to share. For entertainment, to make know what's happening in our life. Virtual interaction, a kind of entertainment. Trends. Okay. Any more answers? No, current affairs. Okay. As a news platform. Good. Geetika, you actually use it productively. My God. Anything else? Changing ideas to keep in touch. Makes sense. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So from this media platform, so from this I can summarize that it is made for entertainment, for connecting people, to exchange ideas, and more about celebrities or other. It's not just celebrities, but a friends in the ILM, to know more about their lives. Yeah, social media is all that and much more to all of us. Okay, as a concept, social media is this. You get to catch up with people who you don't know, or who you haven't seen for some time, old friends or something like that. But share. This is where these companies have again outsmarted us. Okay. So for us, where social media is a way to connect and catch up and keep ourselves entertained, we are actually deflating the value of it. As a connection platform, as an entertainment platform, these have zilch as value, nothing. They account for zero, because no investor or nobody is going to pay for something to connect. The only person who I know who did that was our very own Ambani, who paid for all our internet packages for a span of 6, 7, 8 months or 1 year or something. Namakaka free at internet just because we had a SIM card. Nobody else is going to do that for you. Okay. Now, the actual value of social media is nothing more than a traveling advertisement. Nobody road in the side, like we see these advertisement hoardings, right? Billboards. Social media is nothing more than that. That is where it comes in. That is the end game. Okay, so their goal is to get us to keep on this platform, connect with people, exchange ideas, information, keep ourselves entertained, and at the same time, watch as many advertisements as possible. That is their entire revenue model. Okay, so this is where you have to understand what is inflated in value and what is deflated in value. And if you are able to recognize these things, you are already a critical thinker. You're going into the depth of finding the true value of things. Okay, that is one way how you can be a critical thinker. Okay, and again, another way to be a good critical thinker is by using visualizations. Okay, so നേരത്തെ exercise on again on a screen example, if you give a child 75%, Reggie sir has a small son. If you show Keshu this image of 75 followed by a percentage, he will not understand it. He's way too young, 3 years old. Yeah, 3, 4 years old. He doesn't understand the concept of percentages. But if you ask him, Keshu, which is bigger, the gray part or the blue part, he will be able to tell you that definitely the blue part is bigger. Which brings us to this point that if you want to be a good critical thinker, or if you want to be critical in communicating your ideas, you have to use visual interpretation like flowcharts, graphs, and etc. to support your communication. Okay. And again, coming to the topic of communication and data management, this is a graph that shows the amount of development that has been there in terms of technology. Okay, so starting from the 1400s to our current day, the intensity of technology has been increasing exponentially, and along with it, information. So we have to be critical thinkers, and we have to practice how to sort through this information. Okay, when you communicate, when you gather information from this big pool of info that is out there, you have to select, you have to critically analyze, you have to apply the questions of critical thinking that I told you. When you gather it, what is relevant to you, what is useful to you, and then when you expand your knowledge and when you start studying about something. I did automobile and then I'm studying renewable energy. It doesn't make so much sense. That's why I told you I'm not a very good critical thinker. Okay, so if you expand your knowledge, you try to build upon what you have. Okay, and when you express your ideas, it's not about you expressing your ideas, it's about how the other person sees what you are expressing. I mean, okay, so you have to design presentations and communications for others, not for yourself. എനിക്കിഷ്ടമുള്ള പോലെയല്ല ഉണ്ടാക്കേണ്ടത്, ബാക്കിയുള്ളവർക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്ന പോലെയാണ്. You have to design your communication, be it speaking or anything up to a presentation. That is where you can improve your critical thinking skills. Okay, now I have a very small game, but I know that we are at the end of our time limit almost. I think I have just 5 minutes to go, but this is a game that you can play later also, and I think I'll post the link in the chat as just right now. Oh, okay, Sanjana, again, thank you very much. I forgot that you were there for a minute. So yeah, you guys can try out this game, and the game involves trying to get some people to cross a bridge. Okay, our constraints എന്താന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ every person has his or her own speed, and they take a certain amount of time to cross. And for them to cross, you have to carry across a lamp which burns for a certain set amount of time. Okay, so you're not allowed to exceed the amount of time the lamp burns, but you have to get every person across. And another catch is that you can only cross it 2 persons at a time. Okay, so this is a very good puzzle or example to test out the conclusion of all these 3 hours, where if you know, if you are creative enough, and if you can use your critical abilities and your mathematical abilities, you should be able to do this. Okay, and again, like I said, keep on practicing these questions and practicing these puzzles and practicing the tips and tricks, because in the design thinking ILM, innovation and creativity and critical thinking, logical thinking, they are all things that are developed over time. Okay, so invest your time into it, and I think I will end my session right now. And thank you everyone for your super amazing participation, and also for being present and yeah, interacting with me. And thank you FISAT and ICT for giving me this opportunity, and I really like interacting a lot. So thanks a lot, and I think we will move on to the interactive session or questions if you have anything for me or Riji sir. Okay, so this is in terms of the presentation from my side. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you, Mr. Jishnu Georges, for your amazing session. Now it's time for Q&A. Anyone have any questions can be asked.
You're welcome, everyone. I see a lot of thank yous coming in. Yeah, of course, if you're a innovator or a young entrepreneur with ideas, I do a lot of mentoring nowadays. So yeah, just feel free to get in touch with me on any platform, and I'll give out free mentoring sessions to students. I do that. I like talking about ideas. So yeah, feel free to contact me or Riji sir or anyone. Any questions for me or Riji sir?
A link is given in the chat.
Okay, Anthony, Berlin is cold actually. So if you were able to see my screen, the temperature readout on there is actually 11 degrees. It's stupidly cold and winter is just starting. So otherwise it's fun. It's an amazing city to be in.
I think there's no questions left. So now I call Rajalakshmi for vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good evening to one and all present here. Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Jishnu Jyotish, respected Director, Mr. A.J. Joshua, our faculty members and students. It is such an honor for me to get the opportunity to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar a very resounding success. First of all, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Jishnu Jyotish, on behalf of our institution, FISAT, for his active participation in this webinar. Sir, you have truly made this day full of knowledge for us. Thank you for imparting your valuable knowledge on innovation and critical thinking. Today, we have got a lot of information which will truly help us in our life. It was really informative. It was really an informative webinar in true sense. Once again, I would like to thank Mr. Jishnu Jyotish for taking time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with knowledge. Next, I would like to thank our director, Mr. A.J. Joshua, for providing immense support to make this webinar successful. I must also thank the organizing team and the faculty members for working hard to organize such wonderful sessions. Last but not the least, I thank all my dear friends for attending this webinar and paying attention to it. Once again, thank you everyone and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Rajalakshmi.
Thank you, Jishnu. Regin sir, it's me, Tom. Thank you from my part. Okay. I think we can.
You're on mute.
Thank you, Tom sir, and thank you for the opportunity. And I hope the session was as interesting as it was for me.
Yes. It was interesting, very interesting, and interactive also.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. To students, kindly fill feedback. I've shared the link in the chat box. Okay, thank you.